Good afternoon and welcome to another sunset safari where we have got elephants swimming around in Ndlovu Dam, which is on Pridelands, right at the Eco Training Camp. Isn't that a beautiful sight? My name is Taylor McCurdy and on camera with me today is Gert. And like I said, we're live here in Pridelands, which is a big open ecosystem and part of the greater Kruger National Park. Now, just remember for the first 45 minutes of this drive, shall we have a look what's happening behind us? For the first 45 minutes of this drive, we'll be dedicating it to all the children in the world, all over the world. So please send your questions through to kidsquestions@wildearth.tv. And we look forward to chatting to you. So I don't know if any of you that are watching are perhaps new and have seen elephants before, but this is really, really awesome. We're basically surrounded by elephant bulls right now. So that's a big Ellie bull. And he just broke a branch. That was that snapping sound that you managed to hear. But he's not angry with us. He's actually quite hungry. He's just having some lunch, so hopefully he won't be so hungry and angry in a moment. And the swimming elephants have now come out of the water. Pool time is almost over, except for one or two individuals. It was kind of like me as a kid. Always the last one to get out of the pool, and I'm sure some of you can relate to that. Look, there's another one standing right in the middle. You can see how shiny that elephant is because it's completely submerged itself, so it's gone right underneath the water. Look at that trunk. It was very funny watching this elephant come on in the water because he didn't want to get his tail wet. Now look at him. Now he's happy to splash around. So the reason why this elephant is in the water is it's a very large animal. And you must imagine how nice it must feel to be able to feel light on your feet and swim around in the water like a mermaid. Or perhaps he's pretending to be a hippopotamus today. But that's going to be so nice and cooling on his skin. He does have nice big ears to try and flap to keep him cool, but that doesn't always work. So the best way to keep cool is to go for a swim. And elephants love to swim. It's the happiest that you'll see them. If you listen carefully, oh, I was going to say you could hear elephants splashing in the water, but you heard something else as well. There's one thing that I do want to show you. It's the most gorgeous, dramatic scenery. It's actually all the clouds, the big blue sky, and the elephant walking above us. Isn't that gorgeous? And if we're lucky, we might get all of them walking past, and it just is so pretty with all those knob thorns in the background. He's so dark, he's blending in with the shadows now, except for those big white tusks that you can see poking out the side of his face. He's going to feed on the same tree that that other elephant was. So this is quite normal to see all these boys together. They're all very similar age. They're not very old, in fact. It might even be the same group of elephants that we saw this morning. They came down for a drink. So they don't necessarily just drink once a day when the water is available like it is at the moment. They'll come and drink a few times. Now, it's not just me out on this safari this afternoon. You're going to be visiting lots of guides in all sorts of destinations. So off you go to Tristan, who's looking at a bird with lots of spots.
Indeed, we do have a bird, Taylor, and yes, shame. Taylor's the only female guide at the moment amongst all of us men, but she's very much an important cog in the wheel, that's for sure. As you mentioned, my name's Tristan. On camera, I've got David. Hello. Hello, David. Right, as you can see, we have guinea fowl, which is quite wonderful. The guineas are, well, taking it very, very easy and are having a nice, relaxing time on quarantine out in the open. It's a good day for them. Not too many thermals, so not too many birds of prey flying around today. It's quite chilly, actually, this afternoon. But before we get into the guinea fowl, this drive is an important one because it was dedicated, well, the drive was sponsored and there was a dedication by Aoife Moran, who actually is quite a cool one. It's her 60th birthday this year, and she's dedicated the drive to 8 of her friends who are all celebrating their 60th birthday this year. So happy birthday to all of you. I hope that you all have a wonderful year, and I hope that there's many, many more to come. But to Mags, Rita, Geraldine, Susie, Mary, Helen, Phil, and Mary. So Mary squared. I hope you guys have a good 60th birthday. It's quite cool that all of you are born in the same year and that you're all friends. So it's a really, really cool thing. Hopefully we'll find all the things that you guys want to see. Our guineas are, like I say, probably not high up on your list, but, well, they are all sitting with their friends, and so it seemed like a good way to start our drive. Like I said, they will be spending their time feeding in the open like this, and a day like today, where there's very few thermals and very, very few birds of prey, allows them to feed in quite an open space like this. It's dangerous, obviously, for them to feed like this at times because of things like martial eagles that will hunt them down. And so they've got to be a little bit careful. There's not really too many escape routes from here if one of those big birds of prey come, because if you look at this area, there's kind of no bush in this section between us and them, and there's very few big trees that are dotted around this area. Now, that means that if the bird of prey had to come down and chase them, normally what they try to do is run into the nearest thicket, but because of how open it is, they would really, really struggle to get into any sort of thicket where that big bird of prey wouldn't be able to get to them. But what they are protected from in a place like this is land predators. So things like leopards would be really difficult for them to be able to get close to guinea fowl in an open clearing such as this one. So I suppose it makes sense. And like I say, it's been a cold, overcast day, really. So not great conditions for flying birds. That's for sure. Now, the plan for the afternoon is that I think we're going to spend most of our time in the northeastern part of Djuma today. It's my last drive for some time. I don't know when I'll be back, but it's my last drive this afternoon. And so I want to try and see if I can find Tingana, the old duke. So I'm going to go and spend all my time in the northeastern side. It's also a good place because there's lots of water holes, which means maybe some buffalo, maybe some elephants. So lots of cool things to go and look for. So that's the plan. In the meantime, though, I'm going to send you down to andBeyond Phinda and Clive to see what he's up to this afternoon.
Good afternoon. Welcome to andBeyond Phinda Private Game Reserve. My name is Clive, and behind the camera is Marcel, and we have got an extra special surprise for you this afternoon. We have found a very big southern African python, which is the biggest snake you get in southern Africa. It's quite hard to see, but it's slowly moving through the grass here. Beautiful. I mean, it really must be close to 4 meters long, which is, I think, about 7 feet. Should I maybe try and move a bit, Marcel? I'm just going to try and move a little bit so we can get the camera on it.
You have the body now.
Do you? I could, if you want to look, I could go on the other side of these bushes maybe. I'm just going to get into a better position to see the snake a bit better, okay? This is really such a great way to start the afternoon. If you are a bit scared of snakes, probably not the best time to watch. Thank you, Jenny. I agree. It really is a perfect way to start a game drive. Oh, look at that, look at that. Look at that huge body moving through the grass. My word, it's gone into quite a thick little spot there. So I don't think we're going to see it again now. But how incredible was that? Wow. All right, so our plan for the afternoon, though, okay. Our plan this afternoon is to actually go and look for a pride of lions. But while that snake was there, we thought we'd show you that too. But for now, we're going to send you across to Steve and see what he's managed to find.
afternoon, everybody, and welcome to Simbambili Private Game Reserve in the Sabi Sands, where we found an enormous big elephant bull who currently is busy eating, but a moment ago was picking up huge amounts of sand and throwing it onto his body. You can probably see a little bit of dust on the back. Elephants love throwing sand on their body. There's many possible reasons for it, but good afternoon, everybody. My name is Stephen. I'm joined by BK on camera, and we are very excited to have you with us. Now, this afternoon's plans, boys and girls, is this morning, Tristan managed to track down a trio of leopards, and we're going to go see if we can find them again. They've walked very far from where we were tracking the day before yesterday, but Tristan managed to find them. So maybe now that the three are together, maybe two will split up, and maybe we'll have a better chance of finding them. It's uncertain and it's not guaranteed, but, well, we did find an elephant. Isn't he glorious? You see just in front of him, BK, you see that bird? Look at that fork-tailed drongo. He's looking for insects that the elephant is disturbing. Hello, Victor, age 11. You want to know if herbivores like elephants and giraffe get along? Well, elephants are the big guys of the bush, and they walk around and everybody moves out of their way. It doesn't necessarily mean that the elephants are always aggressive to other animals, but everyone moves out the way of the elephants. And it so goes on down like that with rhino and hippo and buffalo. And the bigger you are, the more respect other animals seem to give you. But many of the other animals, such as giraffe with kudu maybe, and impala and wildebeest and zebra, they quite often like hanging out together so that they can see. And many eyes, many ears means they can see the approach of danger. So you often find them in association with each other, not really competing, but spending time in amongst each other's company to stay alive. But that is not the case with elephants. This big guy, no one's going to bother him. He can do whatever he wants to. Just spend the entire day feeding. Right now, it's in this open area, looking particularly for small little herbs or forbs, little shrubs that are growing in the grass. Doesn't look like he's actually grazing right now. He's picking up small little herbs. Some snake bite bush is one of the plants he's grabbed there. Trying to get the roots out of them. Many of these little herbaceous plants, exactly these microgreens, form a very nice salad. There's lots of medicine in them as well. Plenty of plants here. They've got medicine, and elephants pass on information from mother to daughter to son. And so elephants go through their life with a wealth of information that they've learnt. When they've got toothache, or maybe their tummy's a little bit funny, or something's going on, they know what to go and find. They generally find it by smell, and then they eat it, and essentially the problem is solved. Okay, well, we are not alone this afternoon. There are lots of us out, and another one of the gentlemen who'd like to say good day is all the way over in the west in Tswalu Kalahari.
Hi everyone, welcome back. Jean-Ray behind the camera there. Can't do it without him. My name's Dylan. As always, it's great having you with us. This afternoon, we're doing a stakeout at the Meerkat burrows. We're going to sit here the entire drive. There's some interesting things going on here. We're trying to figure it out. We had the honey badger this morning that we saw very briefly, and he's in the far distance at that big tree where the weaver nests are. I don't know if you guys can see that. Okay, so there's a set of burrows down there. There's a honey badger underground in those burrows as we're speaking. They're super shy, so we're not going to go down there. We're actually going to sit at the burrow system where the meerkats are. So Morsadi was here just now. She's moved off about 20 minutes ago with some of the group, There's a squirrel that was actually relocated. He moved out of that burrow system where the badger went into. So we're going to spend the whole drive here on a stakeout, and we're going to hold thumbs that we're going to get some interesting interactions. The key thing is whether we see the badger or not is badgers are 100% a very, very, very real threat to meerkats. They can dig way faster. They can get down these small burrows. Meerkats don't have much defense against them. So Morsadi is going to be super alert, and she's actually going to, there's a strong chance she'll actually move those pups away from this burrow system, and that's what we don't want to miss. So please just bear with us. There might be a lot of nothing over the next 3 hours, but you never know. We will be sure to come straight back to you if there's any sign of action. And before we go on is Happy World Environment Day to everyone out there and our colleagues down in the low velds. I hope it's an amazing day and that you're all enjoying this journey that we're on. Chandra and I are super excited. We're actually getting attacked by a pile of stink bugs. As you see these little bugs flying around, I say stink bugs. We don't know where they've come from. But anyway, we're going to stick it out here. I've even got a fleece on now. It's actually quite hot now. But we're going to be sitting here till the sun's gone. It's going to be quite cold then. So we're kitted. We're ready just to spend as much time as necessary. And we're just super excited about what might develop here. It's a chance we're taking because we could sit here and see very little. But on the other hand, it could end up being super exciting. Head back towards Taylor. She's got some good ellies down that side. That should be quite interesting.
Welcome back again to Pridelands, where we've almost left the dam. You might be able to see Eco Training Camp in the background there, but the elephants sort of march on through it all day long. Now, we're not going to get too close to this elephant, not at all. And the reason why I don't want to get too close to him is because he is in must. Now, what that means is that basically he's just interested in searching for the ladies. He doesn't want to spend any time with us, and that can make him a little bit intolerant of anything, from other elephants to other animals, and then of course us in the vehicle. So he's going to walk and we'll just let him carry on, although he's very relaxed. He's not very upset, but it just means that they don't have the patience that elephants normally have, and elephants are very patient animals. So we'll probably just let him do his thing. He's had a nice swim now. He's nice and cool. He didn't throw any mud or sand over himself, which was sad because that would have been nice to watch him cover himself in all that red soil. But that's okay. Probably just going to have a snack now. Now, Kayla, you're just 11 years old and you've asked, how is there enough water for all of these animals? Well, these animals have to rely on rain. So we've just had our rainy season. We're coming into winter now, which is dry season. So all the water that you saw earlier, Kayla, if you were watching, was from a few months ago. Maybe about a month ago, we had the last bit of rain. The elephant's going to disappear now. But we might be able to just show you some of the water just through there. So that's a very, very, very big area. Now, this isn't the only dam that is on this reserve. So there's quite a few of these depressions that are filled up with water now, so these like holes in the ground. And then there are some that way, which we're going to go to the next one. And then guess what? Because this is a huge open ecosystem, so the animals can go wherever they want, if we run out of water, they will just go to where another pool of water is. So those elephants are very clever. For a very, very long time, for generations and generations. So grandfathers and then their grandsons and their great-grandsons, all that information gets passed on, and the same thing happens with the females, and they know exactly where to go to find water every single year. But we're going to carry on down the road. Let's see. Actually, I'm just going to go to this tree because there's something I want to show you on this tree. So it does get very dry and the water does dry up a lot, but they can move around. Here we go. Have a look. I'm going to see if I can You think I can get out? Shall we test it out? Let's quickly see if everything works as it should. Sorry, I'm just getting all my cables quickly. I want to go and stand next to the tree very quickly. Elephants have all moved off, but I must be careful because there's big pathways here that elephants like to walk down. So this is a beautiful Marula tree that you can see, but you can see it's not just true color of bark. You can see the difference quite nicely up top, how much lighter it is. See, that's the normal color of the tree. And then when you go down, you can see how brown and it's full of mud and clay. So this is the elephants that have come here. And now I don't want to rub up against the tree like an elephant because then my uniform is going to be filthy and I'm going to get into trouble. So the elephants have had a nice scratch. And that elephant that we just saw actually came through and he pushed over a whole tree because he was having such a nice scratch. But he's such a big boy that even that tree that was up over there couldn't hold his weight. So Marula trees have got this lovely bark that you can see, and that is so nice on an elephant's skin. Their skin is so thick, so they really, really enjoy being able to scratch up on that. And if you look very carefully, you'll see in between the mud, you might even find some parasites and things like that stuck up here. So that's quite cool. They love these trees. They love the fruit on them. They've just had Marula season in January, February, and March. We fight the elephants to try and eat the fruit as well. I fight the door to try and get in the car too. So that's really, really nice. And there's a whole bunch of other things that could be living in that tree too, because I see lots of natural cavities in there. But we're going to carry on down the road and see what else we can find. Off you go to Dylan, who's still keeping a close eye out and hoping that honey badger will pop its head out.
So, yeah, we're just still sitting here getting inundated with stink bugs. So the squirrel refugee that came over from that burrow, he's still here, super, super, super nervous. When the meerkats were here earlier, they keep on looking down towards that other burrow where the badger is. So there's definitely something going down here. And this is going to be a patience game, a waiting game. But I hope you're all comfortable, wherever you may be, and that you're going to stick with us through this. We really don't want to move away from here, because if we move away, things will happen, and then it's just like for us to get back, it's just not going to work. So we're rather just going to bite the bullet, stick it out here, and see what we can get. It's that suspense. You never know what's going to happen there. Nikhil has just asked, why are meerkats so shy? Nikhil said these meerkats actually that we're sitting with actually aren't that shy. We've been seeing these ones for a number of years now, so they're quite used to us. The animal that's going to be shy here now is the squirrel. We don't know where the squirrel comes from. There's more burrows in the area. So he's now moved away because the badger has moved into his home, where the burrow where he lives. So now that squirrel's moved up here. So the squirrel's quite nervous. And that's why also we're just talking nice and softly. We're actually sitting even further away from the burrows than we normally sit, so as not to disturb anything that goes on here. We've also chosen our wind direction quite carefully. So the wind is coming across us. So even if the badger came out and he wanted to come up to these burrows, he wouldn't pick up our scent easily, or maybe, hopefully, not at all. So we've chosen the location where we're sitting very, very carefully. So the meerkats are relaxed, the badger isn't, the squirrels aren't. So we must just be patient and hopefully we'll see something good. But while we're doing a stakeout here, head over to Tristan, who's got some really cool antelope for you to see.
It is a very cool antelope. They're the biggest antelope that we see here, and it's sitting in a very cool spot. Now, normally, our antelope, like kudu, like to be quite hidden. And they like to be kind of in amongst the trees and sort of hiding away, but this particular female is sitting right out in the open on top of a big plant, which is really cool to see. They're absolutely amazing creatures, these kudu. I love them. The males are incredible with their horns. They've got these amazing big horns that stretch up over their head. and then the females, well, like this one, doesn't. But they're still pretty animals, like I say, really, really large. And when they stand on top of these termite mounds like this, you really get a sense of their size. It makes them look that much more impressive. Now, you may have also seen a bird flying way in the distance behind its head just now. It's a Bateleur eagle that is flying in the distance there. It's quite tricky to see it, but maybe you might pick it up every now and then as it sort of circles along. But what you're noticing is that, there it is, well done, David. There it goes. Nice, Dave. Gabriel, aged 11. This kudu is 5 years, 6 months, and 22 days old. I'm joking, Gabriel. I have no idea how old this kudu is. Very difficult, Gabriel, to be able to tell how old kudu are. Once they get to fully grown, like this, and especially a female because she doesn't have horns, it's really tricky to know their age, and so it would be an absolute guess, and I would be lying to you if I told you it would be an exact age, and I don't want to lie to you, so I'm not telling you what age it is, because I don't know. Its ears are pretty good though. It doesn't have any sort of cut or scrappy ears, and its coat looks fairly in good condition, so I mean it must be in the sort of prime of its life. Let's see if it's got nicks in it. It does have a few nicks in the ears, so I don't know, maybe anywhere between 4 and 7, 4 and 8, but I mean it would be a complete guess. I don't think that it is in any way an accurate age at all. All right, excellent. We're going to sit here and enjoy our kudu. It sounds like Steve has had a bit of luck this afternoon and went and followed up on the leopards we had this morning, and it sounds like he's had a bit of luck.
Yes, well, thanks very much, Tristan. You did all the hard work today. Let's go to the female here, BK. We found the trio of leopards, boys and girls, and there's been a bit of mating with the one male and the female. She's now rolling around, and the two males, not normally do you see two males together. They both just ran off into the bushes, running parallel with each other. But they will be back, because this is a beautiful lady that they're both interested in. So we came to the area where they were left this morning. I was trying to find some tracks, and I was just looking around, and I could just hear this low little growling sound, which is an amazing sound to experience when you're on foot. Definitely makes every nerve in your body stand on end, or your hair, every hair on your body. Now she's going to go see what these silly boys are up to. They'll be back. We're going to listen, because they might have a fight soon. Basically, these boys get so overwhelmed by the presence of the female that they want to fight each other. Okay, I'm going to keep going, BK, otherwise we might lose them. Don't want to lose them. Probably the easiest effort finding leopards. Not like what we've spent the last few days doing, but you just missed what they were doing, but it'll happen again. There we go. There's Mawati again. Can you see him in front of us? There's the newer leopard to our territory. He's not a relaxed leopard. Normally, we would not see him in the daytime, but now, because he's overwhelmed by the presence of this female, he doesn't care. Now, many of our viewers back home, many of the viewers who watch, long-standing viewers who've been watching the show for some time, will remember we found Mawati last year a few times. We named him, but he's even been seen before that. And he is normally a jittery, running away kind of fellow. But now he's out in the open saying, "Hello, everybody. How are you doing?" I can't see him anymore. Can you, BK? Ah, there he is. Now that, boys and girls, is a leopard. Now it sounds like the other male is making some noise. He's going to go sort him out. Let's go. Let's go. There's going to be an altercation here. Prepare yourself for some noise. could be some noise. And if you have when the noise gets now the two males. Okay, well, it seems like we're losing some signal. I'll get a good spot. Over to Tswalu Kalahari.
So the little squirrel's just been out, but he's just popped back down again, literally. But we're keeping an eye open there. The other interesting thing that we're watching for here is bird activity. As with the aardvark and pangolins, anything that digs, and badgers are a great example, birds will start following them in order to try to capitalize on any little odds and ends that get dug out. A nice example that you see in the Kalahari is we've got a bird of prey called a pale chanting goshawk. It's a kind of medium-sized grey bird with pink legs, bird of prey, and they are well known for following honey badgers because as a bird of prey, following a honey badger, that honey badger is often digging for things like little rodents and that, but he's obviously not successful 100% of the time. But if he digs out a rodent burrow and those little things get away from him, the goshawks will capitalize on that and go for it. And we've actually even seen those birds following troops of baboons, because baboons, as they're moving, they're unearthing things, they're turning over rocks, pulling over logs, and they're also flushing little rodents and that, which those birds can capitalize on. So I'm hoping with this honey badger, if, and it's a big if, it comes out in daylight, and we're really holding thumbs here. Hopefully we'll see those kind of interactions as well. Maybe not with a goshawk, but certainly with some of the smaller birds that may be following, like ant-eating chats, white-browed sparrow weavers, Kalahari scrub robins. But there's the squirrel, he's out now. I don't know if we can get it over the bushes. There we go, you got the little squirrel. So he's kind of feeding intermittently, but he'll often keep looking behind him, down towards the south. He seems quite nervous about that direction, and that's the direction of his original burrow that he came from. So much intrigue in the bush. Daniel, the squirrel, he seems quite lost to our way of thinking. But I think these little guys know their way around very, very, very well. There was a second squirrel further out in the distance, but he's disappeared in the grass. So it may well be that this one and that other one are related, or they know these burrow systems, so they're just hanging around here now while the badgers kicked them out of the other one. There's the other side to it, that perhaps the badgers actually caught one or two of the other squirrels, because the lady that's doing our habituation here, Rebecca, she was actually saying that the burrow that the badger went into, there's normally 4 or 5 squirrels that live there, and we've only now seen 2. So perhaps that badger is lying fast asleep after having a nice chunky meal. But again, we don't know that for sure. Very sweet little things, these squirrels are. And a badger gets down a burrow system if they're in it, unless they have got some burrows that are linked underground and they can escape out of different entrances. If he chases a squirrel down a blind burrow, he'll gobble them up. So we're going to send you over to Steve. He's got a really good leopard sighting there apparently. apologies. We seem to have lost Steve, hopefully not permanently. But so I was mentioning earlier today, and that's a very interesting thing. Squirrels, well, these ground squirrels are regarded as herbivores, but the majority of, most squirrels will actually eat meat whenever they get it. Those squirrels that are down in the areas where Steve and them are working, I mean the low-felt, the yellow-footed tree squirrels, they will actually raid birds' nests as well. So they'll take eggs and chicks out of nests occasionally as well. So when you see those cute and cuddly little squirrels and they look adorable, just think they have got another side to them, and they will take protein if they get half a chance. But the normal thing for these is a herbivorous diet. Wow, Clive has a secretary bird, and that's really good to see. So head over to that way.
Welcome back again, everyone. So while out on the search for these lions this afternoon, we've come across a beautiful bird here called a secretary bird. They stand really tall to see up high in the long grass. And it's actually a type of bird of prey, which means they eat meat. And what he's doing is he's walking through this grass and looking to flush out any rodents or snakes or anything like that out of the grass. And what he'll do if he does find any is he'll actually stomp on them with his feet really, really hard and then eat them up after that. And I don't know if you can see just to the right there's a beautiful big herd of zebra as well. I'm going to go up a little bit closer for you. Let's see if we can get another view before he flies away. Jolia, that's a very good question. In our area here, which is kind of the eastern side of South Africa, the rarest animal we'll find here is probably an animal called a pangolin. Anyone who's been on a safari quite a few times, believe me, that's always on everyone's list of things to see. Is a pangolin. It's like a scaly anteater, if you don't know. So that secretary bird has just walked off behind the zebras, although I think it's going to pop out in a second. But also, how amazing is this little herd of zebra as well? You got it. Oh, there we go. Yes. Okay, so he's still walking through that long grass, trying to look for any food. And speaking of birds, if you have a look at almost any of these zebra, there are little birds sitting on them as well, especially the second one from the left. I don't know if you can see that one. Let me go to myself. There's a bird called a red-billed oxpecker sitting right up on its back. I know we saw some with giraffe yesterday, and what they do is they pick off all the little ticks and other parasites off of all these animals. Very, very special. There's still a few more minutes of kids' time left, so send through any last-minute questions. Let's hear what you have to say. Yeah, this light is really perfect on all of them, especially how the zebras are kicking up a bit of dust as well. Jazz, I love your question. Do you think secretary birds and zebras are friends? Listen, you actually never know. These secretary birds might make use of other animals walking around in the long grass that also might flush out little rodents or snakes, and the secretary bird might hear that, or it might even chase that little animal towards the secretary bird, and the secretary bird would actually take advantage of that. That is quite possible. There are a lot of other birds that do that as well, that use other animals to to flush out prey for them. I see towards the right of these little herd of zebras, I see there's one small baby one lying down. I'm just going to go up a little bit closer. Let's try and get a better view of that little young one, okay? We seem to be having a day full of young animals. We had little lion cubs this morning, cheetah cubs yesterday even. We had some young giraffe. Julie, that's also a good question, and funny you ask that because I was just saying the same thing. But, oh, there, the baby's just got up. But yes, there are a lot of babies out at the moment. Something like this zebra or the lion cubs that I was talking about, there isn't a specific season where they will actually breed or they'll give birth. They could give birth at any time of the year. There's sometimes a bit of a peak when there's good grazing, so maybe this little young one could have been born just before the summer rains. But I think for now we're going to head you back to Steve. Apparently those leopards are out and about, so enjoy.
Here's our
All right, and you're back again so quickly. Sorry for the technical issues with Steve there. But we're in such a beautiful spot here with this little herd of zebra. And I'm very happy you came back here. It's really nice sometimes, especially for people taking photos. You often don't want the light on the side that it is now. But it's shining through the mane of these zebras. It's really beautiful. And you can really see now that that young one has stood up. The size difference between it and its mother that's right next to it. Really pretty. I'm sure that little young zebra is probably only about maybe 4 or 5 months old, so it's still very young. Jason, if you look at all of these zebras, except for that little baby one in the middle, the other 5 of them are all adults. So that is as big as they get, in the region of about 300 kilograms. Yeah, so all of these here are fully grown. And it's so many people's favorite animals when they do end up coming on safari. And I can see exactly why as well. So this little group here is made up of one male, which is the one right on the left, it looks like. One male and his, what's called a harem, or a group of females. Yeah, his harem of females and the little youngster in the middle. I love how they're both standing next to each other and their tails are just swinging in time with each other. Alright, so we are going to carry on along this road on our left here, and we are going to be carrying on looking for a pride of lions out here that we call the Ngala Pride, and for now we're going to send you across to Taylor.
Although it's just disappearing. You can just see its tail slipping on down. Let's see if we can get another view. I'm going to go. Oh, no, there it is. It's back. No, come out, squirrel. Where is it? It's hiding. It's just gone down a little bit further in the fork of the tree. Yeah, even lower than that. Okay, I think I might have to go forward, but I do want to show you the squirrel very quickly. Let's see. Don't be scared of us. Classic. The animals, they hear live, and they all start to disappear. This is typical animal behavior. Okay, so it's just in this big Marula tree here. Maybe we'll even get a better view of it. Just try to block out the sun. You'd think that there'd be lots of squirrels on these trees. Where did you go? Impossible. Okay, that's all right. I did want to try and show you a squirrel because I had something planned, but it's fine. I can work without it. It's not a problem. It's fine. For these moments in the car, I keep things like this. Are we still on the kids' show? Yes. Are we? Some elephant dung, which I shall put over here and make the car nice and dirty. We have just finished, but now, of course, please send through your other questions, #WildEarth, or comment on the YouTube stream or other platforms that you may be watching on. So this was really catered to the children. Some of you probably know all of this already, but anyways, I was hoping that we'd have the squirrel and then I could link it to the elephant dung, but I don't know if that's going to happen. But anyways, I picked up a whole bunch of elephant dung on the ground, and this morning we were talking about their diet and kind of what they're eating. So like I said, this is catered to all the children, and hopefully you haven't tuned off just yet and you're still watching here. So you can see this dung is still quite wet on the inside, but the outside now is nice and dry, and you have to excuse how dirty my hands are because I've been digging in elephant dung for most of the afternoon. And what squirrels do like to do, especially during Marula season, and we are surrounded by Marula trees, so this is all very fitting, is dig through lots of this elephant dung to find the nuts from the Marula fruits, and they've been stashing them everywhere at the moment. So now we've been watching squirrels run up and down the trees or running along the sides of the roads and trying to find their nuts again. Very cool, though. Anyways, we'll talk more a little bit about this when we find some elephants, which I can hear breaking branches. I'll just store that down in the footwell. The other thing that was quite cool, I'm still going to just look for a squirrel, so it's all relevant, is that I was asked a question that I won't answer just yet because we'll find a squirrel and we'll talk about it. But it seems as though Dylan has beaten us to it, and because we couldn't show you a squirrel, he's got some.
So we're still biding our time, biting the bullet, doing our stakeout. Very little activity going on here, but we are just going to stick it out. We're not going to go anywhere. So I'm just really worried that we leave and then something happens. I've actually asked one of the habituators to start following up further east of us, just so we're kind of covering our bases. But this is where the action's going to be. Don't hold me to that, but I'm hoping. That squirrel is just still popping his head out. He's actually behind the bush for genre. I don't know if you can actually see him there. You may or may not. But super nervous still. Darts out, eats a little bit, goes back in, and then he comes out and keeps looking around. Gabriel, absolutely. The squirrels will definitely. They'll have a mating season about 4 months prior to the summer months. And if you look at a lot of most of your herbivores, they actually want to be dropping lambs or calves or, if it's rabbits, like leverets, those kind of things, going into the summer months, because the advantage there for them is with the onset of the rains, there's a lot more green vegetation around, a lot of growth around, and that means the mother can actually sustain it and have good milk to be able to look after the youngsters properly. So it's very, very, most of your herbivores are timed whenever the breeding is to coincide, that the lambing or when they give birth to youngsters will coincide with the onset of the summer months. That's a good question. Very interesting question. That. Whereas your predators are often driven by your prey availability. In other words, they can run around catching other animals. So frequently your predators, not all of them, but a lot of your predators can actually just have youngsters at any time of the year, as long as there's enough prey availability. Yes, that squirrel is out now. And I'll do my best. The only challenging thing is the sand is so soft, so it just keeps running. But we will see. I'll tell you what, if you join us again tomorrow, we're going to make a sand castle at some point for you. That's what we're going to do. That squirrel's just not cooperating. He's like up, down, up, down. But if I was the size of a squirrel and I had a badger after me, I would also be a little bit nervous. And badgers, they will go for squirrels and things, but they are excellent tree climbers as well. And on Tswalu, we've actually witnessed them climbing up trees to catch snakes in trees, big mole snakes that go up in trees, and honey badgers go up after them and they catch them. They'll raid birds' nests. Those of you who were with us yesterday, we found that leopard kill of a grey duiker on top of a big social weaver nest. Honey badgers will even go into social weaver nests and try and break them open if there's chicks and things inside. So they're super adaptable predators. And in terms of digging, the only animal out here that I'm aware of that'll be able to dig faster than a honey badger is an aardvark. And there's even a lot of anecdotal evidence for badgers being able to catch aardvark underground. It's never been witnessed, but there's a lot of people that have worked with aardvark out in the field, not just at Tswalu, but in other areas as well, in the Kalahari Transfrontier Park. And there's certainly enough circumstantial evidence to point towards badgers being able to chase and corner aardvark underground. I don't think that happens frequently, but certainly it is an option. While we're coming up with ways to build a sand castle, our plan, head over to Clive at Phinda and see what they've got.
Welcome back again. So just up ahead, a bit further on this road, is where this Ngala pride of lions we've seen this morning. So we've started taking it a bit slower. I'm keeping a look on the road for any tracks, and now we're scanning on both sides of the road here to see if we can find where these lions are. It's a really beautiful area, some little patches, or it's mainly a bit of open grassland, but as you can see a bit up ahead, quite a few trees. And I would say because it's been quite a hot day, there's a good chance they might have come even to these trees up ahead. But with it reaching 4 o'clock, it's starting to get a little bit cooler. So you never know, they might start moving already at this time of the day. Sorry, Emma, can you just repeat that? Did you say schedules? Okay, Georgia, now I understand your question. Yes, so, when it's cooler in winter, they might start getting active a bit earlier in the day, then they don't have to be nocturnal. They don't, they might, whereas in summer when it's hot, they might only get moving sometimes at 8 or 9 o'clock at night. But it also depends on if they've fed recently, or if the whole pride is together, or if some of them have maybe been separated. So it depends on quite a lot of things. But yes, their schedules definitely do change. So all we're looking for in this long grass is maybe just like the flick of a tail, maybe the flick of a tail or even the ear. But I think for now we're going to carry on following up here, and we're going to send you across to someone else. No, you are sticking with me. You're sticking with me on this lion search, and I'm hoping them. What was that? Sorry, I just thought I saw something. No, I'm going mad. Sometimes, especially when you think you're close to lions. Oh, hold on. I think we might have just found them. I think we might have just found them.
There's a lion. There's definitely a lion there.
Sorry, I'm just gonna have a look. Okay, yes, there's definitely a lion here. Hold on, I'm just going to try and get us in a little bit closer here. Oh my word, look at this. So just through the trees here. I wasn't seeing Dragon Lady. Thank you, I really thought I was going mad. But I'm not. Look at this. So that looks like one of the big adult females. Look at that big yawn. Oh, did you see the size of those teeth? And back to sleep, yeah. Head down again. Now, I thought I heard a bit of rustling in the grass on our left, so I'm just keeping an eye out there to see if there's more. Because in this pride, there should definitely be quite a few more lions. Marcel seems to think she's maybe taking a break from the kids. I don't think so. I hope not, anyway.
Kids,
All right. Do you know, your comment is absolutely 100% on point. She just says, and flop. And that is exactly what lions do so often. Put their head up to see what the noise was, and then the big yawn, and then flop down and their head goes back onto the floor. I think we're going to spend a bit of time here, because I'm sure there are other lions part of this pride that are around here that we just can't see. As you can see, the grass is quite tall. And it's very easy when a lion is lying down like this, it's very, very easy for them to go undetected, isn't it? Especially at this time of the year where the grass isn't as green anymore, it's starting to go to a bit more brown, then it's exactly the same color as these lions. Oh, now she's just rolled over. Catherine, I 100% agree with you. Catherine says it doesn't look very comfortable with all these sticks, and it doesn't at all. There's a bit of a fire that's come through here a little while ago, and all these dry sticks are here, and they're actually quite thorny as well. They've got little spikes on them. So as long as she's not lying on one of those, it'll be comfortable, but otherwise this grass around here actually looks very nice and soft. Looks like it would actually make quite a good bed. So we are going to spend a bit more time with these lions. I'm going to try and get a better position so that we can see them a bit better. For now, we're going to send you across to Tristan, who's still looking for some leopard for you.
Well, we are looking for leopard ears. I mean, we've been on the tracks for Thandi and the cub, and found an area where the smell of leopard urine is so strong, it's actually almost off-putting a little bit. It kind of gets into your nostrils. It's almost searing your nostrils. It's so strong. But the elephants have walked all over there, so I can't see where they go from that point. But it looks like they drop into a drainage line, and so I think they are somewhere left this block. So what I'm doing is just doing a loop round to see if Thandi has come out today or if she's still inside the block. I didn't see anything coming out at Ngala Road North. Didn't seem like anything coming out on Central. And so I'm hoping that if I check up this little section of Drakensberg and then across on Quarry Pan Road and nothing comes out, then I'm pretty sure they're in there. Now, I don't know if well, I'd say it's a bit tricky because there's a bit of a grass section on the road, but I find where the cub goes over, but I can't see where she goes over. So I'm still trying to figure that out, but we'll get there eventually. And I'm pretty sure we'll be able to hopefully find her. Just checking very carefully. I don't know if anyone even drove here this morning, so it's part of the reason why I'm going slowly is to try and figure it out. Rosemary, you've got to use a bit of everything when you're tracking, funnily enough. So your nose does become important. It might sound ridiculous, but it does. You know, using your nose to just figure out what you're doing, and it helps you sometimes smell urine. And if you look and you can see the bush in front of you, funny enough, you can actually sometimes see if it's fresh, because while it might smell, it would have dried on the leaves after a day like today if she's scent marked this morning. But if she's scent marked right now and there's still urine dripping, then you know that you're right there. So smelling things is not always the worst thing, and then listening is probably your biggest asset when you're tracking, more than even your ability to see. Because yesterday, we'll have a look at the Steenbok while I talk about this. I mean, not yesterday, sorry, this morning, when we tracked those 3 leopards that Steve has now, it was by hearing that we actually found them. So we obviously by sight saw their tracks and followed their track period by sight. But then we got to a point where we eventually were actually locating them by hearing. So it was very funny to go, you would drive like 10 meters and then switch off and listen. Then Dave and I would drive another 10 meters, switch off and listen, and eventually kind of got them to that point, because it was just this low little rumble that we were hearing. It's a little grrr, that's all we were getting, and you got to try and pinpoint that. And so David and I are both like, which side do you think it is? And we'd drive a little bit, and eventually that's how we got them, once we knew that the tracks were in that particular little block. So hearing is probably one of your better senses when tracking, and then obviously the ability to identify tracks. But interestingly enough, just chatting about that Mulawati situation, what amazes me about the whole thing is that when we left, Hukamuri seemed to be starting to push Mulawati, but apparently when we left the sighting, just at the end of drive, Mulawati actually mated with Shadulu in front of Hukamuri. And Hukamuri was the one that kept actually just avoiding Shadulu. Even though she was trying to mate with him, even though he had opportunity, he was so focused on Mulawati that he would just sidestep her and go towards Mulawati, whereas Mulawati actually took the chance to mate, which is really interesting. So I'm fascinated to know what the dynamic is this afternoon and whether the behavior has changed, because they actually ended up pushing a lot further west. So It'll be interesting. Now, it seems like Steve's signal is stable for now, so let's send you quickly across there while it is and see what's happening that side.
Welcome back. Now I'm just going to keep quiet so you can hear exactly what Tristan's been talking about. That is Mulwati. He's constantly growling. So is Hukumuri. And then Shadulu's also making noises because she's feeling a bit left out. Okay, so we do apologize for the signal, everybody, but these leopards are where they are, and they are moving from time to time. Just before, while you were away from us, Mulwati mated again with Shadulu, and then shortly after that she went and started prostrating herself for Hukumuri, but he was not interested. He was more interested in trying to chase off this other male leopard who apparently has been giving him a beat down all morning. One of the other vehicles that joined Tristan this morning says that Mulwati has been dominating Hukumuri. There's the spot. There she is. There's the spots of Shadulu, and in the next few moments I'm guessing she's going to get up and prostrate herself for whoever is. We don't really know what her selection criteria is. But when we first got here, we heard the noise of the leopards growling, then we drove off, and then Mulwati immediately mated with Shadulu, and then took off after Hukumuri, and then they ran headlong into these thickets, shoulder to shoulder, almost touching. It's quite incredible how close they are actually to each other without any physical conflict. It is a wild interaction, and for you it's the most wild one you've seen in a day with leopards. Well, I think it's going to continue. Shadulu's the cause of all this chaos. Mulwati's out of his territory in Hukumuri's territory, so Hukumuri's got a right to be upset. It's also his previous girlfriend. And by the way, this morning Tristan was discussing how she kept moving away from Mulwati, kept moving away, trying to obviously find Hukumuri, but with the persistence, Mulwati seems to have dominated, and through that domination, the female then selects a male. But if there are two males nearby, she will select both. That's what she did with Hukumuri, but he turned her down and then did another sideways long running jog into the thickets here. Seems like everything's calm for the moment, but they could change any moment. They must be incredibly tired. They've been running up and down. It's not the hottest of days, but they must be dehydrated, because after every confrontation, each male scent marks and scrapes, and he's salivating enormously. Pat, Mulwati, naturally through the sort of successional hierarchy of how dominant male leopards move into areas, would definitely try and take over territory that's vacant. And Tingana over the last 2 years has sort of grown in territory size, where he's kept up big territory, but we haven't seen him on Djuma in, I don't know when last he was seen. So it just takes a little foothold to be had, and then a male starts accumulating a larger piece and a larger piece, and if Tingana starts avoiding those areas, then those areas will be claimed. And it seems, though, at the moment, without me wanting to suggest too much, but Mawati's got a firm hold on the sort of a split right in the middle between Hukumuri and Tingana's territory. By the way, he's been dealing with Hukumuri today. He's a definite contender. That's how survival of the fittest works. The biggest and strongest male takes over, and the biggest and strongest male mates. That's the way it works, and then the cubs obviously take on the strongest genes. How amazing are these shots of Mawati, everybody? Ooh, the Shadudu's up. This is what we wanted. Oh. Now this is going to be exactly what she wants. Picked a good spot. I'm just going to keep quiet for you here. There we go. We could have moved, but we decided to hedge our bets and stay where we are, and it paid off. That's about as good a visual as we would have gotten of this scenario. The sounds just go straight through you, don't they? I'm not sure how much information Tristan gave this morning of Mawati, but he's a male leopard that you don't normally see in the day. If you do, it's a very, very quick, very short. He's not relaxed. And talking about Tingana being the shy one, this is how he got habituated to vehicles. He moved in and mated with, I don't know if it was Karula or Tandi, but the vehicles followed, and before he used to run away, and then he realized, well, I'm staying with this lady, I'm going to protect her, she's overwhelmingly beautiful. And then he realizes through a course of a few hours, even a day, that those vehicles pose no direct threat to him, and slowly starts taking no interest in them at all. And so now seeing him here, pretty relaxed with the vehicle, not concerned at all. His only thoughts are about this other male and about the gorgeous lady in the grass. Well, that's just made my day. I mean, being here to see it, that's the first actual proper mate that we've seen happen. It's happened, this is the third time since we've been on the scene, but we haven't been able to see it properly because of the vegetation. Now we've managed to show it to you live. So, coming to you live from Tswalu Private Game Reserve, and there we go, behind the bushes once again we go. Lisa, this is so cool. It is. Unfortunately, Lisa, I'm going to have to move, and I have a very strong feeling if I do move that we are going to lose signal once again. So I'm going to leave that with Emma. Okay, very good. Well, let's send you over to Taylor McCurdy in Prrivate. She's got an elephant.
Not just any elephant, it's an elephant that we have seen before. It's our collared friend. Hello, big boy. But since we last saw him, and I don't remember seeing this injury on his trunk, right between his tusks. It looks like he's maybe been in a little bit of a fight. Can you see that? Now, we know how tough elephant skin is. And we know what a powerful muscle that trunk is. And I don't think that it's easy to get a wound like that. So maybe him and that other big elephant bull have had, that we saw earlier, that was in must during the beginning of the show. He's probably going to walk past me, but I'm going to move forward, if you don't mind, Fat. The only reason I'm going to move forward for this, Ellie, is that when we arrived here, he did stop eating. Hello, boy. And I am right on a really big elephant pathway. So I'm just going to, I don't want to block him. I probably could have sat there and he would have come right past us and it would have been no problem at all. Is he going to come on the road now? But For me, as much as I love elephants, I don't like elephants in my face. So I'm going to turn around here and then we'll watch him. But I'm really hoping that he comes down because we're right at Leopard Dam, so he could have a drink. Maybe that's what he's going to do. So let's get ourselves in a good spot so that if he does come down and drink, we can actually watch him. So he should just come through over here. And then he's got enough room. There he is. We'll just watch him from over here. There we go. So it's really interesting, and it's nice to see him again and see that he is doing well. But don't be concerned about that injury on his face. It's just a superficial injury. He will be fine, and that's normal. When big elephant bulls and breeding bulls are around one another, and there are any herds nearby, they're definitely going to push one another around. But he doesn't have any other little injuries on him. Hey, big boy. He hasn't got really big ivory, but he's so tall. Not the biggest elephant that I've seen. What's he doing? Scratching through the trees? Hey, boy. You can just see. This is... Dove, yes, at some point they might have to refit the elephant collar, but I don't think that this elephant is going to get any taller, or he might get a bit bigger in terms of width, but he's sort of reached his potential. I would say his shoulder height is, exceeding 4 meters, and he definitely weighs well over 5 tons. He's a big boy. I know it's quite difficult to compare his size. If we see a big tree, we can always do one of those cool size comparisons, which is amazing. You're all very talented photoshoppers out there, where basically I can stand in the same place that the elephant was, and I can give you my height so you can get an idea of how big that animal was. But just as we watch him, look at his trunk. That's, for me, the most fascinating thing, and I think and all guides will agree that it's important to learn elephant behavior. So like I said, when we arrived, he was feeding. He then stopped feeding. And he took a couple of steps forward, and then he was pretending to feed. And then he kept coming closer, which is typical signs that, he's going to try and assert his dominance over us. So he could, might as well come right up to the car and try and stand there and intimidate us. But I don't want to get super close to him. So we'll just make sure we give him enough space all the time. You can see he's smelling us. Look how subtle that is. The other thing that he could be doing is that there was a breeding herd of elephants that moved past here, and I know this because I can just see their tracks on the ground. So he could be smelling them too, but I definitely think that he wasn't impressed with us earlier. But he's obviously relaxing. Hey, big boy. Look at that back right leg. See how he's kind of taken the weight off of it. And it's just always important that you must give animals the right of way. So like I said, I was in his pathway and he could have gone around me, but I always move for the animals. And now we've got a much better view. Come on, boy, we want to see you have a drink of water. Or are you just going to stand there having a siesta all day? It actually does look like his eyes are growing heavy now, don't they? Having a scratch? Also the lovely calls of the turtle dove and ringneck dove in the distance. Rochelle, shame, yes, he's Nigel no friends at the moment, but that's normal for an elephant bull. He doesn't need to have friends. He's quite happy to be on his own. Throw sand in his face. So he's a mature bull, like I was saying, so he'll just move in and around wherever he wants to. When he's in must, he's going to be obviously more excited and more keen to mate with female elephants. So then he'll move between breeding herd and breeding herd. What we did see a few days ago is this man had a young friend, an elephant bull that was about the quarter of the size of this big boy, and was tailing him. So he's basically a mentor. But an elephant mentor for other elephants, obviously. And the younger bulls will follow him around and learn from him. And he'll also be quite dominant over them. So they'll learn to behave too, because young elephant bulls can be a bit of a nightmare. But he's very calm and very relaxed now. Perhaps there were a few insects that were just annoying him, and that's why he was tossing sand in his face. But now, like I said, his eyes are growing heavy. His trunk was resting on the ground. He's now... Can we have a look at what he's doing with his trunk? It's quite funny. He was playing with a stick now. And he's got the sand again. Look at that. That's awesome. I can see all those wrinkles on the trunk. But we're going to sit here with him and hopefully he'll go and have a drink in a moment. Off you go back to Tswalu to see those wonderful squirrels.
We are having an absolutely exhilarating time sitting here. But it's all to a good purpose. So please just bear with us. These squirrels are giving us some entertaining times. There's another 2 that came in. So there's a total now of 3. And those 2 also came from that other burrow system's direction, where the badger's sleeping. I wonder if he didn't gobble one of them up and he's just fast asleep underground, busy digesting. Or if he made an attempt, but he actually didn't catch anything. But the temperature's dropping a lot now. It's a much cooler temperature than it was earlier. So hopefully there's going to be some action. But the whole thing with us is, even if you don't see anything, it's still, as genre and I are sitting here, we're still learning about what's happening with this group of meerkats. We're still trying to figure it out. Now we know, well, there's a super predator in the area that didn't go for them. Watching the squirrels' reaction to that burrow takeover this morning was interesting with them. That one just rocking up here that we hadn't seen before. Now there's suddenly another 2 with it. So there's definitely some interesting dynamic going on here with regards, well, it probably is a direct result of the threat or the fear of predation. And that fear is frequently what drives ecosystem health. And there's a lovely field of study, or, it's kind of the terminology. Understand there may be a lion behind that bush, or we may get attacked at any stage by an eagle, and that's often that kind of thing that drives animal behavior out here, or in any system. And what that does is actually causes animal to alter their behavior. So, well, okay, instead of me just waking up in the morning, kicking my heels up and just eating whatever I feel like it, wherever I feel like it, for however long I feel like, we'll keep moving through the landscape, changing our routes, changing what we're eating on. So although that grass may be brilliant over there, there's also a lot of thick bush around there, so we'll actually kind of skirt around it, and that translates onto the ground in terms of giving vegetation time to recover. And many of you may be familiar with the really good example of the wolves in Yellowstone, and how the reintroduction of wolves kind of altered elk and deer behavior, which in turn resulted in the recovery of the wetland systems in, the drainage lines, the river lines. So predators are a very, very important part of the system, and that fear that drives animal behavior as a result of the threat of predators is very, very important. So while we ponder those thoughts, head back over to the elephant.
Yes, we're still with our big man, who's just edged slightly closer to us. He's been covering himself with dust again. Like I said, I think there's some annoying flies just bothering him around his eyes and around his trunk, which is typically where they like to gather, where there's moisture. And at one point I was wondering if he was testing the wind by throwing the sand up. That's a very typical thing that guides will do, is scuff their feet on the ground, or I like to grind up a scrub hair pellet and test the wind. I'm glad it's not blowing in our direction, otherwise we'd be a shade redder, and I'd probably start sneezing. And he's also covering his wound when he does that. I don't know if you can see. Now you're probably thinking, you know, isn't that going to cause an infection? But no. So you look at all those little flies. Now we've actually got the nice light. So on the trunk, where that wound is at, you can actually see the tiny little midges. If you look very carefully, we're actually nice with this backlighting on it. And they must be biting and trying to go into the wound as well. And I think that's why he's covering it with sand. So that's sort of a normal way for animals to just try and keep the insects off. But don't worry, they're super hardy. And something small like that is not really going to be too much of a problem. You can see it's not really deep or anything like that. I think he's just quite annoyed by those. Right, it seems like we're having just a little bit of a technical difficulty. So off you go back to Phinda, where the lions are using a different tactic to keep the bugs at bay.
Welcome back, everyone. And as you can see, we've found a slightly better spot to view these lions, and we've managed to find the rest of the pride. So it looks like these two that we can see right now might be the youngsters. They are young male lions of around about 1.5 years old. But look how he's lying right on his back with his belly exposed. So these are really pretty kitties, you're right. They are just, you know, it's still light, so there's no reason for them to move now. They look like they're definitely not hungry. They're not full, but they're definitely not hungry, and they look like they are very, very happy with sleeping where they are. So the one closest to us, as soon as he picks up his head, we should be able to see, but these young males are just starting. Hi, Matthew. You're asking if these are white lions, like Ngala? No, they aren't. The underneath of a lion is very, very white, and that's what you're seeing now. That's the lion's belly, actually. But white lions, I think, if I'm not mistaken, there are only 3 in the wild, and 2 of those are at Ngala. So no, we don't have any white lions here. That is a very, very special thing to be able to see up at Ngala.
Have you seen them in person, Clive?
Yeah.
Yeah, quite nice.
You see, they're constantly flicking their tails trying to get rid of those flies. I can actually see a few flies there. So we're going to just sit here and wait for these lions to start getting moving, hopefully wake up, see what they get up to anyway. And for now, we're going to send you across to Steve, who has now left those leopards.
Thanks, Clive. Yes, well, unfortunately, the leopards were very close to a sort of very discreet boundary that we weren't allowed to go over. So we've left them for now. And also where we were, the signal was very bad. That last segment we were able to give you was probably about as good as it's going to get. But in the open area here on Simbambili, this elephant bull, and you won't believe it, everybody, I've never seen it before. I've only seen pictures from Mana Pools. This elephant was on his 2 back legs a moment ago, 2 legs in the air, reaching up to break the branches off this Marula tree. And we just missed it. But I've never seen a South African elephant doing it. It's a common sight, apparently, in mana pools, with the big elephants there feeding on the anna trees, the winter thorn, the acacia fadherbias. Fadherbia albida is the name now given to the winter thorn. You can see them on their back legs stretching up to try grab those nutrient-rich branches. And I just got very excited now seeing it. BK's like, oh, but I saw an elephant calf jump. So thanks, BK, for ruining my moment. We're all good friends here. I want to see the footage of BK's calf jumping. I didn't know elephants could get off the ground. It's a lot of weight to leave the ground with all the gravity. Can you imagine? And how high can you jump? Work out your weight. Think about an elephant weighing an enormous amount, leaving the earth. Earthquake material. So he's pulled down this branch of the Marula, and he's feeding on very fresh leaves, but mainly on the bark at the moment. The bark has got lots and lots of minerals. Marula's are also very good at holding moisture, a very good water holder. They've got massive roots that are able to access the water that grow up here on the top of the slopes, so they're able to access the water table, and they also store a lot of moisture. A good survival trick if you are stranded out in the wilderness and you're desperate for water, you can actually dig the roots of a marula up and squeeze them out to get some sustenance. He's enjoying himself. Cole, you want to know if elephants are naturally curious or if they like observing from a distance? Well, each elephant you come across has got different traits and behavior. They've got so many different characters. So it really depends, you know. I find elephant bulls, especially sort of medium to sort of, not old, but sort of middle-aged elephant bulls, to be extremely curious and extremely interested in coming and hanging out with you. If you ever stay in a camp, a tented camp, with no fence, you'll always have elephant bulls coming into that camp, coming investigating what is around, and also being very interested in coming close to vehicles. I find, and I think, my opinion, of course, these guys spend a lot of time on their own, and they get a bit lonely. So many times I've had elephant bulls walking along and they see the car, or they hear the car, and they come and they just stand right next to it, and they feed. They just stand there. Sometimes block the way so that you have to stop and spend some time with them. And I think they might enjoy the soothing sounds of a voice, maybe just the tone or tonality that comes off, the vibrations. But some more curious than others, of course. Some act a lot of indifference. But I just love them. And talk to Taylor about the elephant bull that she knows by the name of Daryl. And let's go to her, because she used to know an elephant that hung around here by the name of Daryl, who knew her intimately.
Oh my goodness. This is not Daryl the elephant, by the way. For those of you that don't know who he is, he's quite a famous elephant. We're very fortunate enough a couple of years ago to see him feature on WildEarth at Djuma. He passes on through. However, some of you may have seen him standing on the roof of Sabi's Earth Lodge. He's easy to identify because he has a bell shape in one of his ears. I think it's his left ear. And I got to watch him for many, many years in the Sabi Sand. He followed me. He didn't really follow me, but I got to see him all the time at Earth Lodge in the southern Sabi Sands, and then he'd sort of march on up to the north. So it was quite special. So our elephant bull has now moved to the edge of the water. He's done playing in the sand. And hopefully he's going to stick his trunk in the water and have a drink. The art of procrastination. I think this elephant has perfected it. Just a little taste to make sure that it's of high quality, perhaps. This morning we were talking about how particular elephants are. about the water that they drink. Later on in the year, they're going to have to literally suck it up and unfortunately deal with the not so great water. Otherwise, they'll start digging in dry riverbeds for that ultimate, I suppose, that almost bottled water. It's really nice, actually. It's got a pleasant taste if you dig water fresh from a dry riverbed. Sorry, I'm just shuffling in my seat. There he goes. And I did notice that he has got, black around his ankles, but almost on a daily basis. And like I said, if not once, but twice a day, the elephants are going in water. So he could have had a drink earlier this morning, which is maybe why he's just taking his sweet time. There we go. Finally. Remember to send those screenshots. This is such a great opportunity to have golden light. I might have to reposition us in a bit, because he's now chosen an interesting angle to drink at. We'll just give it a moment and then I shall change it up. You can listen to all the birds starting to give one final song before the sun sets too. Also, there's just something so soothing about the sound of water. Phil, you've commented that this is quite cute. It is. Especially the way that he's crossed his back leg now. He's really just having the time of his life. Shall we try reposition? What do you think, Gert? I'm thinking that I might go a little bit further forward. He's moved a little bit away from us, and he doesn't mind us at all. We'll see. I'll start the car. No reaction at all. He didn't even move his trunk. But I want to try and backlight him nicely. I just wish he was drinking this side, because the bugs are awesome to see. Where are you going to go, elephant? He's playing games with us now. Okay, I'm going to just go behind him like this. We're not going to be able to do backlighting right now. Don't turn anymore, Mr. Elephant. Oh, I'm rolling for Gert, trying to get him into a position, because he keeps turning his body. Okay, we'll have to deal with this for now. And then hopefully it gets a little bit better. You might also be able to hear another vehicle in the distance. The students have started doing their guiding assessments now, which is exciting. So we've got a whole bunch of future field guides. And what a phenomenal sighting to have, to be able to narrate. It's nice when the animals make it easy for you and you get to see them on safari. I remember doing my apprenticeship field guide assessment many, many years ago. And Catherine, what we were hoping to do was try and do a size comparison so you could really see how big how big this individual is. But yes, elephants are enormous, and maybe if he walks out after he's had a drink, we can show you a boerbean tree, a weeping boerbean, and if he stands next to it nicely, we'll try to take a screenshot, and then I will go and stand next to it at some point. Even if we only do it tomorrow, that's not a problem. Thank goodness for technology and being able to save things. Look at his tail. So just as Clive had the lions swishing their tails about, trying to keep the flies away, I think he was starting to do it, but now it's settled down. He's got long bristles, though. Those sounds are just something else. You can hear him breathing deeply after every gulp. There's just something so prehistoric about the way that they breathe. Well, I think that Jurassic Park has done it for me with elephants. Every time I hear them breathe like that, I hear a triceratops. There's one particular scene I'm talking about. Now he's just stirring his drink in the water. And you can see he's in no rush. He's got all the time in the world. He's got nowhere to be. He's on his own. You know, when the breeding herds come down, especially at the moment with so many elephants on the property, goodness, they come in, they drink as quickly as they can, and as they leave, the next herd is in. And surprisingly, elephants are not always that social with one another and tolerant of other herds, and we sit and watch that at Ndlovu Dam often. You'll see how flustered one herd gets as they are drinking water, and then another herd comes on in and there's lots of rumbling, and then they charge on off in the opposite direction, and then that herd comes in and drinks. So even though they are largely social with one another, I think if there are, if the water is sort of dwindling, then they're not super tolerant. I mean, I know you've seen it on Djuma with a hippo and how he likes to have the dam to himself and doesn't appreciate any animals of any kind, especially large herds of buffalo encroaching on his space. So there's always a lot of pressure around a watering hole, and it's only going to increase now as we head into dry season and all these pans and dams start to dry out. Most of them have in fact already dried out, especially the wallows. Not much water in them at all. This is so pretty. There we go, now he's found the mud. He's stuck his trunk in a lot deeper. Oh, big boy, if you have a proper mud bath, we are going to get covered in mud, but I don't think I'll ever complain about being showered in mud, especially by an elephant. That has happened to me once in my life, but a very long time ago. Can we see how hairy his chin is? Especially with all the water. I don't know if we'll get the backlighting. We'll just have to see if we've got the right angle. Look at all the water there. Hey, boy. You're going to walk past the boerbean. Did you hear what we had to say? Sorry, it was quite a quick glimpse. I'm just watching him. He's still very sleepy. I don't think he's had a proper nap today. And that trunk is still very busy smelling us every now and then. Can you smell the orange I have in here? Anushka, oh my goodness, there's so many things that I love about elephants. I don't know where to even start. They are my favorite animal by far. I love the social dynamics between them. I also just love how calming elephants are. Hey, big boy. We had this conversation already. I'm not going to let you come and get too close. Nope. 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 I know you're not going to do anything. I'm going to turn around very quickly and we can watch him from here. Again, he's relaxed. I'm not worried. I just really don't like it when elephants tower over my car to prove a point. Doo-doo. I'm going to give you a great view in 2 seconds from up here. Look how nice this is. Now we've got even better light on him, in fact. For me, there's just no need to get super close. Also, didn't want to make him feel like he's blocked in, but I know he's had a lot of experience with vehicles, and I could probably sit there and he'd come within reaching distance. But Anushka, I love elephants, but I also like to watch elephants over there, not on top of me. I've just seen things go wrong so quickly. And even though he has been extremely relaxed with us, he hasn't shown us, any aggression at all. There's been no head shaking. There's been no lifting of the tail. He hasn't flared his ears out. He's just, he's been quite curious about all the different smells that are around here. So just going back to what I love most about elephants, just sitting with them, and it's the best therapy in my opinion. If any of you have ever had the luxury of sitting with a herd of elephants, and I know it's great that you get to watch them on screen, and I think sometimes you're able to get that emotion, but just looking at an elephant in its eyes and how they just feed around you or tolerate you like this big bull has been at a close proximity. Man, oh man, there's no greater world to be humbled by a presence or the presence of a giant. And I suppose you'd get a similar feeling if you were in the ocean with whales. I would imagine it would be very much the same. Yeah, and they're always interesting. you know, whenever you see an elephant, they're always doing something. They're always eating, or they're throwing dust on themselves, or they're swimming. Little ones are playing. PJ, you've now inquired that I should share my orange with the elephant. No, I'm selfish. It's actually not even orange. I don't know why I called it an orange. It's a nachi. It's my favorite fruit. I haven't opened it though. It's just sitting down there staring at me. But no, we don't feed the wild animals. And I think that's also very important to remember. Please don't feed wild animals. We don't need them to feel dependent on us as humans. That's when you get all sorts of problems. Also, when an elephant says, give me that orange because I've had an orange from you before, and you don't, whew, good luck. I'm not going to get involved or even enter that argument. But they've got such a sensitive trunk, though, so I'm sure he can smell all sorts of things. Probably can smell the coconut shampoo that I've used, the food that we have in the car, the polish I've used to shine this vehicle. And then, of course, you can probably see all the disturbances on the ground, but the breeding herd that has walked there too. Right. I'm going to send you back across to Phinda, where the lions are still fast asleep.
All right, so it sounds like you've had an amazing sighting with an elephant across with Taylor, and we are bringing you back to these lions here on andBeyond Phinda Private Game Reserve. Still feeling quite lazy, but as you can see, they're starting. Look at that, he's right on top of another one. Oh, lions are so funny when they get like this. Oh, listen to the growling even. So there's starting to be a little bit of movement here. Nothing too crazy yet, but every now and then they get up and move a few meters and lie down, as you saw, normally on top of another of the siblings. But it's actually a really nice view of what I was talking about a bit earlier, of that one being a young male. If you look on top of his head, there's almost starting to be a little, like, mohawk of hair. And even around his cheeks as well, there's just starting to be a little bit more hair around there. And these are the very beginning parts of a mane growing. So that's obviously the easiest way, while they're young like this, to tell that it's a male. Look at him looking at us. Absolutely magnificent creatures, aren't they? Another couple of yawns going on. Looks like he's smiling. Area, you say it's so funny when they have that fluff around their manes, and yes, I agree. Just on his neck and on the top of his head. It's quite a funny age where they look a bit strange. Having a good scratch. So this time of the evening, all what you see going on here, these yawning, his scratching and grooming. Catherine, yes, a little mohawk starting. That's exactly right. That'll obviously get much, much bigger as these little young males grow older. But for now, it's just a little mohawk and a little bit of extra fluff. And as I said, this is at about they between a year and a half at the moment, and they look like this. By the time they are 2, they'll start having a little bit more hair, but that mane is only going to be fully developed by the time they're about even close to 5 years old. So it's still a long time away for them. You can just see more feet rolling over on the left there. I think there's more lions that we can actually see here, because technically in this pride there's 3 big old lionesses, which we've seen 3. Hello, striped horse. From about a year old, it'll start growing. Even actually less than a year old, it'll start growing, and you can just start seeing a little bit of extra hair. And as I said, with these ones a little bit over a year old, you can see it a little bit more clearly. But again, as I said, it's only by the time they're about 5 years old that it's going to be a full, proper mane, like a big male lion, like you all know so well. And see, the one at the back is also a young male. Yeah, so as I was saying, there should be 3 adult females, of which we've only seen 2 so far. And then there should be 5 of these young males that are all relatively the same age. We're going to sit here a little bit longer. Let's see if these other lions pop out anywhere and if they start getting moving. The sun is about to go down now. And before it does for us, we're going to send you across to Dylan. Apparently the squirrels are becoming very active now. Perfect time of the day. Enjoy.
So it seems we've got at least 2 adult female squirrels here and 1 youngster. There's another adult, but I haven't been able to see if it's a male or a female yet. That one's actually gone underground. But they've still been super nervous the whole time, and they've been ignoring us completely. This is that badger thing. And I was just saying to Jandre that we're like really going into badger time now. The temperature's really cooling down nicely. The wind is completely in our favour now. It's switched 90 degrees from where it was. So things are looking up. We're still waiting for the return of the meerkats. Having been a warmer day and in winter, it may be that they take a little bit longer to get back to the burrow this evening. But that's really why we're just going to keep sticking it out here. So I've just been absolutely fascinated since yesterday afternoon and now the whole of today with this morning and this afternoon in terms of this behaviour, this interaction, this dynamic that's going on here. I'm still trying to piece it together. I don't have all the answers. So cool. So they're just behind the bushes there. You see, that's the little one on the left-hand side. I think that Jandre's got in frame. So Maria, that's a good point that you raise there, saying that you didn't know that badgers prefer colder temperatures. So remember, we're just saying that it's getting cooler now as opposed to the heat of the day. Badgers have actually got a huge temperature range tolerance in terms of the habitats they live in. So you can get them in, certainly in South Africa, you can get them on our east coast, high temperatures, high humidity. The nights get cool, but not freezing cold. But then you get, and lots of rainfall. Then you get areas like this, where it gets super dry, it gets incredibly hot, and the nighttime temperatures go well below zero. The coldest we've had on Tswalu is about -9 degrees centigrade. But within those temperature ranges, there'll be an optimal temperature band that a honey badger would like to forage in. It's not to say that they can't operate outside of that, but that would be the optimal. So if they have a choice, they'll forage between X and X. I don't know what those parameters are, but what we do know is on a warm day like today, he's going to be underground sleeping it off, and then as it starts getting cooler now, which it is now, then they'll come out and they'll start foraging because they're expending less energy, and in terms of trying to reduce body temperature and conserving moisture because they're not having to pant in that. So by staying underground when it's hot or very cold is hugely beneficial to them. Yeah, temperatures are interesting, and the same goes for, we chatted about earlier with nocturnal or diurnal animals. Diurnal or nocturnal animals can actually operate in the opposite spectrum as well, just depending on what's driving them at the time. But we can chat about this going forward as well. So, but I think in the meantime, head over to Taylor and some giraffe.
They are indeed, and good luck with a honey badger. Well, hopefully it will be a reveal. We've got an interesting interaction happening too. We have a giraffe that has decided it wants to become a tree today. It's off on the left-hand side. Then, of course, an elephant. A young elephant bull. There's a couple of them here, and they're not impressed that the giraffe are taller than them. I think that that's what the argument is about. No, it's actually not uncommon, again, to see all these different species of animals interacting, and we're really fortunate at Pridelands. The students here at Eco Training really get to spend a lot of time on this reserve watching the different interactions between the various animals, and that's the most important thing. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to go up a little bit further forward, just because I'd like to see this giraffe a bit better, but we have a couple of trees hindering our view. So let's relocate. We'll reposition. And the light has gone beautiful too. Actually, can we have a quick look at what's behind us? I just want to show you this gorgeous view over this valley. Look at that. Just lined with knob thorns and Marula trees. So that's sort of the skyline that we're viewing out to this afternoon. Not quite a sunset just yet. This is the pre-sunset, and we've also got a moonrise tonight, so we better keep an eye out for that. I was actually trying to get us to a nice high point where we would be able to watch the moon and perhaps have some animals in view too. But let me continue. I'm going to move on forward, like I said. Ta-da! Very exciting. We've had an incredible day today. I'm so happy that I've been able to show you all these animals. It's quite nice. I've definitely been missing it. So there were two giraffe bulls actually standing on the middle of the road. One has disappeared down there. Let's see if this big fella is going to hang around. I'm going to try not to disturb him. And they were standing really close to one another. I wonder if just before we got here they were maybe necking one another, so they may have been fighting. But I don't know. I'm just guessing now. But he's walking straight towards those elephants, so let's see what happens next. If they come charging on out. No, he doesn't seem too fazed by the elephants at all. He's intrigued and just eating on that tree. And there's two fork-tailed drongos just down to the left of him. Also, I think we've been talking about catching all the insects. And at this time, there are probably lots of insects also hanging around. I mean, we watched all those bugs about the elephants, although something more substantial might be preferred. Oh, there's a third one. Do you see that one on the left that just flown away? So the two sitting on the branch, the one further back is actually a juvenile. So that's not an adult just yet. It's difficult to see. Sorry, we're a little bit far away, but look at the coloration difference. You see how it's got white and it's got a bit of brown on it, but it has definitely still got the fork on its tail. So it's always nice to see these young birds, and at this time of the year we will see lots of young birds. And that is because breeding season, I was wondering what that sound was just a couple of months ago. So typically in the summer months when food is most available. Now while you watch this giraffe, I'm looking through my side mirror because there's another young elephant bull coming up behind us. It's inevitable. This giraffe is going to be chased. It has to. But you can see him cautiously walking. There we go. Turning very quickly. He got too close and didn't see that elephant behind the bush. I can see some rustling. So maybe he'll come on out and finish the job. That's a hornbill there, red-billed hornbill, that's also just flown out, I think enjoying the movement of these large mammals. Don't get a fright, but I think a young ellie bull is going to try and sneak past us on our left, which is awesome. Look at this. Here he comes. We're being snuck up on by. Well, he thinks he's sneaking. There he goes. He's just taking the scenic way around. Hello, little boy. Going to join up with his mates. He did surprisingly walk very quietly. Again, the only reason I knew that he was here is because this road has got some, gravel and stones and things like that on it. So they were kind of moving as he was stepping. But elephants walk very, very quietly. They've got quite a bit of fatty tissue at the bottom of their feet. And when we were with that big elephant bull, it was really interesting to see because he was standing on sticks, but you couldn't hear anything. So it's almost like that fatty tissue goes over, in this case, it was a stick or a rock, and he wasn't putting all his weight on it. So just those stones were sort of moving. But if this was just a sandy road, we definitely wouldn't have heard that elephant. And you always have to have your wits about you. I'm going to just go again a little bit further forward and we should get a nice view of both species. There we go. So we've got elephants and we've got the giraffe again. But while we wait, we'll see if the moon rises on time, or if we go back to Steve, who's trying his best to also sneak up on some animals.
We couldn't drive past this lighting. This light is just gorgeous, Taylor. I know you're waiting for the moon while we're on the other side of the hill with the setting sun. And it's herd of Impala in the golden light and the long grass. It's just gorgeous. I'm just going to leave you all with just a little moment to breathe it all in. Safari Sam says you can see that they know the leopards are otherwise occupied. Well, you say that, Safari Sam, but they're now staring into the bushes there. I can see other Impala. They're looking at something, but it's an Impala moving. Impala are eaten by everything, Safari Sam, by everything. So out here, Impala are jumpy, always. Anything moving, even if it's a warthog or a duiker, sometimes even a steenbok or baboon. And the Impala's like, what's that? Will that eat me? Another reason why they hang out in these groups together. It looks like they're being friendly, doesn't it? It looks like they're all hanging out to sort of socialize. But actually, all they're doing is trying to be in the middle. Because whoever's on the edge is going to get eaten. So it's actually quite a selfish behavior. Herd dynamics. You see it in the wildebeest as well when they accumulate in their hundreds of thousands. They get so distracted with just being in a big herd that no one even looks out. They just think, oh, well, someone will be watching. And you see the lions in the Mara and Tanzania just running in and just smashing wildebeest because no one's looking. You know, one of those things of someone's doing it or someone's paying attention. Yeah. Those two ladies there on the side. Another benefit you have of being in a herd like this is you can see how many have their heads down. Means there's more time to feed. If your head is up the whole time, what are you doing? You're not feeding. So what do? You lose condition. What happens with our male Impala in the rutting season? They're up, their heads are up, they're looking at males, they're looking at females, they're looking for predators, and they completely forget that they're actually hungry. That can only last so long. They lose condition pretty quickly and either get displaced by another male or they get eaten. And that sounds quite shocking, everybody, but that is the circle and cycle of life out here. So I believe there's a partial lunar eclipse today. It's a full moon. I don't know what time the eclipse would be. I always get eclipses on full moons. It's because it's the Earth that gets in the way of the sun. That then partially shades out the moon, depending on where you are in the world. I'm not sure if we'll be able to see it from here. Oh, just me. That's one of those things people say. I don't enjoy saying those. James Henry, if you say, would be very upset for you asking such a question. But if one of these impalas turns around, first of all, I mean, impala are eaten by everybody, so that's one thing. So they're freely available. But if one of them turns around, you'll see on their bottom. Forgot one's bottom. There we go. Far right, BK. Far right, we've got a bottom shot of an impala. Far right. Other right. Can you see that one? It's got an M on the bottom. You see the black lines? It forms an M. And so that's where the M, the McDonald's sign, comes from. I've never ever used that fact before in my life, but it is one of those facts that does the rounds through the guarding industry. And many guests have a little chortle on the back there. But as I said, James Henry would be wringing his head in his hands right now if he heard that. Absolutely gorgeous light fading. Just going to turn the nose of the vehicle slightly to the left. If you'd like to bear with us for one more moment. Well, while we zoom in to the setting sun, watching life, the creation continue, I'm going to send you all the way over to the western side of the country. Follow the camera over to Tswalu Kalahari. So we are still on watch. The squirrels seem to have gone to bed. There's still a good hour left, I reckon, before these meerkats come back. Worst case scenario is that they could have given us a slip during the time of the day when we weren't here. But we'll only know that if sundown comes, if the sun has set and there's still no sign of them, then we'll know that we'll have to go back to the drawing board and try to find out where they've gone to. But for the moment, I am still super optimistic, super excited. We know we've got a fast asleep honey badger somewhere close to us here down a burrow. So we just need to bite the bullet and see what happens. And I'm really hoping that Morsadi and her group actually come back here. Of course, like I say, if they've moved, it would have been as a direct result of the threat from this honey badger. Angie, the question that you've asked in terms of will a honey badger ever burrow down into these meerkat burrows is a resounding yes, absolutely. And that's, if they've moved, it would be as a direct result of the fact that this honey badger is so close to this area now. And they pretty much don't have a defense against it, apart from taking the gap when he's asleep, or she, we don't know if it's male or female, actually just relocating completely. So like I say, we're just going to have to bite the bullet. And the only time we're going to know for certain whether they're actually going to return to this burrow system is after sunset. Once that sun's gone down and temperatures are dropping quickly, then we'll know, okay, they're either here or they've found a new burrow system. But we did a quick scan around the burrow. We didn't notice any sign of badger tracks at the burrows, so which is a good sign. But if the meerkats know that the badger's even close by, they could move. It's interesting to see that the squirrels are still here, but the meerkats aren't. So they've all gone down. They've gone to sleep now. But at least we know that they're in these burrow systems. So, but you probably also find that they're unlikely to move as far as a meerkat can move. So whereas the meerkats can travel long distances to get to other burrows, the squirrels won't do that. So I think our colleagues in the Lowvelds are getting some really good moon shots. So I think head over there and we're going to stick it out here for you.
Hello everyone, again, and have a look at the beautiful full moon that is rising. The sun has just dropped down in the west, And this beautiful full moon is rising in the east. This is really, really so incredible. And it's nice. Take a minute in the silence to just listen to the bush around us and watch the moon rising. So if some of you know how to tell if it's full moon, obviously besides it being very, very round, because even the day before and the day after it can sometimes look like it's full, but it's not. But the way to tell the easiest is as soon as the sun sets, the moon starts rising. That's when you know it is absolutely full moon.
Yeah, so if you're on the Makharikari pans in Botswana, it will happen at the exact same time because it's so flat.
There we go, some wisdom dropped by Marcel.
I'd love to experience it in the wet season on the pans in Bolivia.
See how it's silhouetted between these two beautiful trees on this hillside as well.
Stations west, I'm going to be leaving by the front, stationary and attended.
Gina, I agree, it really is stunning, and that's why we thought we'd give you a few minutes just to enjoy the full moon. I hear you've had the sunset in Tswalu as well, which is really incredible. And now the moonrise at the same time. If we flip you around 180 degrees here, I would actually like to show you. You feel like cheese now, Vicky. That's very funny. If we spin you around 180 degrees here, we can show you the sunset as well. And I've just noticed that the clouds are looking really spectacular tonight. I'm just going to ask Marcel to spin us all the way around if he can. Sorry, Marcel. Look at those colors in the clouds. Like a beautiful orange sea, really. There's nothing that marks the end of a day in Africa like a sunset and moonrise. For now, though, we're going to send you over to Tristan, who's having a wonderful elephant sighting for you. So, enjoy.
We are with elephants, and you might be wondering why I'm laughing. It's because poor David has just had a moment of panic. Because David was trying to fix something on the camera and was completely the wrong way around, and then had to kind of get it around quickly. Sorry, David. Are you all right there, buddy?
I'll be all right.
You'll be okay. Excellent. Don't worry. But we are with the elephant. There's two Ellies here. There is one very sassy, very naughty, very vocal, boisterous youngster that is behind this guy in the drainage. Unfortunately, have signal with him as he was trumpeting and carrying on with us. So he came out, and we've got the older of the two, who is an absolute gentle giant. He is sitting feeding. He hasn't so much as even batted an eyelid at us. And so we haven't been trumpeted at and screamed at like we were by the other one, who, like I say, is a lot younger than this fella. But he's a beautiful, beautiful elephant, this particular individual. He's an older bull, like I say. He's got a nice set of tusks, but he's super relaxed. He hasn't, like I say, even moved in our direction until now. That's the first time he's even looked at us since we've been here. But he's gotten himself into a really difficult place for us because it's quite thick and dense in there. And so we're waiting for him to try and sort of come out now and maybe head a little bit more to his left where it opens out nicely. But we're just on the banks of the Mulawati. Such a beautiful spot to be at this time of the day. The sunlight was amazing at one point. And then you drive along this Mulawati and you have that orange beautiful light mixed with the ellies and the birds that you get in this area. It's always super pleasant to drive around here. We're also tracking what I'm pretty sure is Thandi. She's come out from the drainage lines and she was walking, but her poo that I found on the road was quite hard already. So I suspect it was from last night that she did it, and she's walked all the way to Twin Dams. Looks like she was still heading south into Little Gowrie, but no sign of the cub tracks with her. So she's busy on some sort of territorial patrol at this stage. But I believe you guys have really nice audio of him moving. Hello, boy. I recognize this bull. He's got that big U out of his left ear. I've seen him a few times around here. I'm going to miss these guys, I must be honest. It's been such a wonderful time with the elephants in the last few weeks. We've really been spoilt with our elephant viewing of late. Lots and lots of really nice herds and very cool interactions. Lots of interesting bulls that have been around. So it's been absolutely amazing to spend time with these guys. And you know, it's an interesting thing. You forget how much you love it until you go away and then come back again. So, you know, part of me is a little bit sad that I'm leaving tomorrow morning early, but I am looking forward to getting home. It's going to be nice to go home. I'm apparently going home to 5 adopted kittens, which is going to be chaos, but anyway, we're fostering kittens at the moment, apparently. That's obviously because they don't have a home, so we are busy looking after them. So at least there'll be some animals in my house when I get back. But yeah, I'll miss the ellies, that's for sure. It's going to be difficult not to see them much. But who knows, maybe I'll go visit Taylor on Pridelands or something like that at some stage. Courtney, so am I. We're actually going to head up to Tingana territory, which is opposite of where we are right now. But as it starts to get a little bit darker, I'm probably just going to take Twin Dam straight up and then go and check around that sort of Buffelshoek boundary, Gowrie cutline area. It's where he was last seen, which was, I don't even know how many days ago. It was the day when we had Kuchava and the cub with the kill on Chitwa. He was last seen. He has been here while I've been here, but it's just been always as drive finishes or during the night. But this interaction, this vocalization from Mulawati the other night, and the fact that Tingana wasn't found after that in this area, I think sends a very, very clear message that Mulawati is starting to take control of what's going on Djuma itself. It seems to me that, you know, you can see with Hukumuri how he's responded to the vocalizing of mating leopards and how that interaction is played out. And the fact that we haven't seen a similar response from Tingana, who theoretically was the dominant male over this core area, it fascinates me. So I think, unfortunately, our Duke has been pushed by Mulawati and has now ended up either being in Buffelshoek or has become nomadic, a little bit like what Mvula did. Mvula started to go northwards into Buffelshoek and started to roam a lot more. And so while we'll still probably get some sightings of him every now and then, it's going to become less and less frequent compared to what we used to have, which is incredibly sad. I might be wrong, but in my experience, generally when leopards soar and vocalize and there's mating audio, if there's a different male in the area, they normally respond to it very quickly. They don't like males mating in their territories, and so it doesn't bode well for Tingana sticking around on Djuma Djuma, that's for sure. It seems to rather lend itself to him being ousted, I'm afraid, by Mulawati, and just the length and breadth of how far Mulawati is moving at the moment tends to suggest that's what's keeping Tingana coming down from the north at the moment. And so I'm not sure how many sightings we'll get, but what will be interesting is obviously the water situation. It's going to start drying up a lot more, which means that a lot of the leopards are going to need to move towards water points, but the big dams are going to have water throughout winter. And so it's going to be really interesting to see if Mulawati is going to take all of the water holes on Djuma. So he's going to access Treehouse and Gowrie and Buffelshoek Dam, as well as twin dams, or if he's going to just use the central ones and leave Buffelshoek Dam for Tingana to be able to go to. If Tingana does push to the north, he's got so many water holes up there as well that are full. So it's not like he won't be without water, but it's going to be interesting to see how everyone kind of settles down as the winter really takes effect. And lots of things to look forward to. I think Kalamba's very close to coming into an estrus cycle as well. Her vocalizing last night, I wouldn't be surprised if she starts mating within the next couple of weeks or months. So, she's going to be around. It'll be interesting to see where she dens. I think Shadulu is not going to, even if she does fall pregnant from this mating session with Mulawati and Hukumuri, I think she'll still den on the western side. I don't think she's going to den on Djuma. But if she does have cubs, she might bring them a lot more than she did with Kara to Djuma, if it is with Mulawati. So it'll be a really interesting next few months as we go forward. I'm just going to probably catch up with our bull one more time, spend a little bit of time with him before we head up north. In the meantime, though, let's send you to Steve.
Thanks, Tristan. Yeah, will be very interesting dynamics when Kalamba well and truly establishes herself. We had that little, I don't know if any of you were with us last night, we had her, and she did a little soaring action. Wasn't very convincing. It's very cute, actually. She did it and then kind of like looked around to see if anybody was watching. It was very funny. But she's a beautiful young lady, that Kalamba. Can't believe she's all grown up now. Okay, well, we were hoping to come across the hill and have a look for the Moonrise, but it is very overcast. There is a cold front pulling in. Lots of cloud cover, and unfortunately, cloud cover makes a big impact on the moon. But I believe in South Africa we should be able to see the partial eclipse about 9 o'clock-ish, 10 to 9 or something like that. Not sure anywhere else in the world what the time might be, but always worth having a look. Eclipses, solar and lunar eclipses, date back in history to being enormous events to many of the cultures and civilizations around the world. I mean, can you imagine you are a God-fearing, not a God-fearing, but a sun-fearing civilization, and then suddenly the sun just disappears because the moon goes between it. The Aztecs, I think, or the Incas, I can't remember which one, used to worship the sun. They used to execute people or sacrifice people to the sun god, and then eclipses would happen in okay, I'll continue that story shortly, but the sun is still setting in the west, so let's send you over to Genre and Dylan, who no doubt are enjoying it themselves.
Not a bad sunset, eh? I've seen worse. We're still sticking it out here. But while we're sticking it out, we found someone really cool came to visit us. We've had all these little stink bugs flying around. They've kind of moved off now. But here's this little insect that we got walking along here. It's called a weevil. I have no idea which species, but there are thousands of different kinds of weevils. And a lot of them, as you may know, are of agricultural significance or regarded as pests. Because the youngsters, the larvae, will go for food. But what is really interesting about them, and I don't know if this one's actually if it's going to work, but sometimes if they get disturbed, they actually pretend that they're dead. So let's say I was a bird coming along, And then they do that. And I'm completely out of luck today. Sometimes they actually lie down on their side with their legs out and they actually sham death. So it's a really cool strategy, for something that grabs it, falls to the ground and then thinks, this thing's dead, and off they go again. But yeah, so it just shows even out here, quite barren at the moment in terms of vegetation and that, but you still get these little guys cruising around and that. So, and also that camouflage is beautiful. If you look at a little bit further out, if you go a little bit wider, and you see all these little bits of dried grass and leaves and that kind of stuff. This little weevil is superbly well camouflaged amongst it. He's gone just into a little hollow. He'll go uphill now. Yeah, the small things are cooler. There's so many interesting little things out there. Ali, absolutely, you can get certain species that are regarded as agricultural pests, and also in terms of like dry store food and that kind of stuff, but not all. These little guys actually play very, very important roles, as do any species in these kind of environments, in terms of feeding on dead leaves, and not only dead leaves, a lot of them the larvae actually eat living stuff. But yeah, they're really certainly not a pest out here. And also remember, they're very important as a food item or potential food item for other creatures out here, be it meerkats or birds or anything that'll eat insects will go for them. And very often you find things that are so well camouflaged, the reason they're so well camouflaged is actually to prevent themselves being eaten. Things that are often brightly coloured and flashy and showy, those are often ones that just don't taste good or even poisonous. But ones like this that are camouflaged, you probably know he'll make a good meal for someone that's actually sharp-eyed and alert enough to catch him. Things like a meerkat would eat that. I think if it came across it, a meerkat gobble that up in a heartbeat. So back to, we have a meerkat saga going on. We're really trying to figure out what's happening here. I think tomorrow's going to be an interesting day in terms of have they actually moved to a new burrow system. We've probably got another 20 minutes of light left here and still no sign of them. The 4 squirrels that pulled in, they've gone to bed already. They've been downstairs for 15 minutes already, but no sign of meerkats, and this kind of concerns me a little bit. So, but it's all part of it. We've put in the hours here now, certainly. Now it would be marvellous if a badger rocked up, or a meerkat. Yeah, the dynamics are interesting, but like I say, we've still got quite a bit of ground to cover before we can figure it out properly. Hey, sounds like Steve's got a hyena down there. So while we do the rest of our thing here, please head over to Steve and enjoy the hyena.
Well, you're with us, everybody, and thank goodness this is only a visual show with audio. You can't smell what I think I've driven in, or BK is choking up on the back here. Something feral is somewhere around us. Oof. I don't know if we've actually driven in it or if it's just deposited on the ground nearby. But I'm breathing through my mouth right now because it's the only way to prevent the gag reflex. Something hideously revolting has been deposited somewhere around, and it is from a hyena. And Jamie Patterson, who used to work with us here, her and I had a great idea to come up with a scratch and sniff book. A book you can open and you can, those little patches, you just scratch it and you go, ooh. And I don't know how well it would sell. I mean, the smell we're smelling right now would kill an elephant. But the concept's great because we talk about them all the time. We could have like a WildEarth scratch and sniff book, and we could
open it, and when we start talking about the smell of elephant, like we did this morning, it was an elephant smell, you could go and scratch that piece and go, ooh, this is what Steve's describing, or the smell of hyena dung. And we would just avoid you opening that one altogether. But the smell of leopard urine, and that sounds quite strange, but you know, we are very keyed into our senses, and eyesight and hearing so important, but the smell is incredible. But Taylor's got an elephant herself who's approaching the hyena den. I wonder if it's going to smell something horrendous.
There is a young elephant bull standing literally right behind a Marula tree, and he has stumbled across the hyena den here at Brightlands. So those young cubs, I've seen 4 of them, have come on out, and they're thinking that they're very brave. They look at that, oh, play a game. Look at this, the youngster going out. He's going to chase it, yeah. How funny is that, though, that elephant is a very nervous hyenas that are not anywhere near its size. We've got backup now, brought a friend. Oh. Not so brave now, are we, little Yes, retreat to your hole. No, those are the other 2 that are not quite as bold. I'll say that, and they're creeping out closer and closer. But they're safe, so don't worry. If the elephant were to decide to charge them properly, they would dive down into the hole and the elephant would not be able to find them. But like I said now, you're not so quick on your feet. But hyenas are naturally curious creatures, and apparently this one is the boldest of them all. And this is why yesterday the adults were so determined, because these cubs would not have, and the lions definitely would have killed these cubs at any moment. So good work from the adult hyenas last night, but I'm glad to see that all 4 cubs at this den are still here. That makes my heart very happy. And the elephant has moved off now. It's quite nice. It is getting a little bit dark, so I don't know if we're going to be able to have the sighting for too long. I just wanted to come and see that everything and everyone was okay. We don't have infrared just yet, so you will see a bit of noise on your screens, but I suppose that you will not be too upset by that. I think we can deal. Very cool. Well, I'm glad that we're seeing that these hyenas are in good nick. I'm going to leave them now because there's no adults here. But off with Tristan, who's also got an elephant, and I don't know what he's doing, but he's playing with a stick.
No, this elephant's not too playful, Taylor. I'm afraid this elephant is very, very chilled. It's eating. It's making itself nice and full, prepping for an evening probably to hopefully lie down, because it's not a very big elephant. But I'm quite surprised by these 2, because the elephant on the right-hand side, which is its mother, is normally part of quite a large herd. She's quite a distinctive elephant. She's got a long left tusk and a very short right tusk. It's quite easy to see the difference between them, and the right tusk is broken. It's quite not that common to see females with broken tusks. The bulls tend to break their tusks a lot more than the females do, particularly at the level of break that she has. It's like quite close to her lip. And like I say, she's normally part of a decent-sized herd, which is around 20 individuals, and I only can see her and her little one at this stage, which is strange. So I don't know if the rest are still feeding off in the thickets to my left or to my right. I'm not sure, but you know, she's on her own at this stage with the little one, and they're just taking it very, very easy. But you can just make out that tusk now on the right side of the trunk. You can see there what I mean about how it's broken. Like I say, you don't see it too often with females. They typically don't have broken tusks because they don't fight as much as what the bulls do. The bulls push and hit each other, and that often the force causes the tusk to break. So this one must have broken on her trying to feed on some sort of root or bark or something like that. And given that it's been quite dry over the past 5-6 years, they would have been feeding a lot more on those kind of things and digging a lot more with those tusks to break hard ground. And so maybe she tried to do that and leverage too much and just snap the tusk halfway up. Makes her quite distinct though and easy to recognize. So it's always nice to see her. Like I say, I just wonder why she's kind of separated. It's been interesting, the dynamic of elephants on Djuma of late. There's been a lot of herds around and some very big herds, and seeming like herds are coming together and then breaking apart and spreading over a large area to feed, but then congregating around water, which is not normally the case. Normally here we find it's smaller groups. They come in, drink and go. Very seldom that you get this kind of loose structure that you see a lot in parts of Botswana and even to a degree in Kenya, where you see lots of kind of elephants spread over a smallish area, but not necessarily all part of the same herd. Here, generally, the herds are quite structured and together, but of late on Djuma, it seems like a lot of interaction between different herds, particularly around the big water holes. The audio is amazing. Cole, you're asking if all elephants have strong personality, or have I met some introverts? So elephants do have very, very, very different personalities. Obviously for us as guides, it's a little bit tricky because particularly in a place like this that's an open system where we get a lot of different elephants and it's not necessarily the same elephants all the time. It's difficult to start to recognize certain individuals and to get to know their personalities. But in reserves where that's not the case, where guys know the elephants very, very well, they pick up very quickly that some elephants are more introverted than others, some are more boisterous, some are more playful, just like humans would be. Ultimately, these are very sentient creatures. They've got a lot of abilities to express emotion, and so there are introverted individuals, there's nervous individuals, there's bold individuals, and you get different elephants that do that. When I was up in Kenya and spent some time at an elephant rehabilitation, the little babies there were most definitely different personalities. It was crazy to see how different each one was and how they all responded to different things, and to different people they showed different emotion. It was really amazing to see how these elephants responded to various things. So I have no doubt that some elephants are introverts. Like I say, it's just difficult for us because it's really hard to know every single elephant. We could easily have, in the space of a year, have, 5,000 different elephants move through this area. So to know every single one, and because you're not seeing it daily, it becomes a little bit more tricky. But in the case of bulls and certain females like this one, if they have a very specific identifying mark, you can recognize them. So her with that tusk, or that bull that we saw earlier, he has the U on the top of his ear and another U lower down that's kind of cut out. So that's quite easy to recognize. We're talking about Daryl earlier. Taylor was talking about Daryl. He's got that bell shape. So, if they've got something like that, it really helps you to be able to recognize the individuals that are around. And so, I suppose they do all have different personalities. Daryl's personality is certainly not the same as what you would see from some of the other bulls around, that's for sure. Hello, little one. Can you come to say hello? It's so nice hearing them feed. Being full of beans, as per normal. Look how it's using its foot. So you see what we were talking about earlier with breaking of tusks. Sometimes they'll use their tusk, actually bend down and help to break things. In this case, it was just the foot, but often it will be the tusk that they'll go down and then they lift the root system up with that tusk, and it breaks, and so that's why the tusk can get damaged. But feet also work quite well. It's cool just to sit and listen to them, though. Now Emma tells me that you guys can even hear this little one opening and shutting its mouth and the noise it makes. They are noisy feeders. They don't close their mouth when they eat. Something my parents would have lambasted me for I'd done as a kid. It's not the worst thing, obviously. What's wrong, Dave?
A light failure there.
We had a light failure. Oh, wonderful. But David's trying to fix this at the moment. Hopefully it will all be okay shortly. Do apologize. There we go. All sorted. Sorry. Alright, well, our Ellie's moving off anyway. He's decided he's not interested now. He gave us a chance and our light didn't work, so he's off. And so while we carry on to see if we can get a last-minute Tingana, let's send you back across to Tswalu Kalahari.
And patience it is. Jean said, I can tell you now, sand starts getting quite hard after 3 hours. And quite cold. It's amazing how fast the temperatures drop now. And very frustratingly, absolutely no sign of the meerkats. So what we've got here, the sum total, we've got 4 squirrels in bed. We've got 1 weevil that walked past, and a honey badger that's also in bed. But we're not going to give up yet. It's pointless like moving now, because if that honey badger starts moving, there's a chance it's going to come up to these burrows. Anyway, so we're going to have to see what tomorrow morning holds in terms of locating Mosadi and her group. I'm just really, really baffled about what's happened with the pups, because like they were all here earlier, and all the adults were here, then they left, there was no pups to be seen. So that might not bode very well, but anyway, let's see what tomorrow brings before we jump to conclusions. Yeah, that's the way our afternoon's gone, eh? Beautiful sunset. Yeah, that skyline is just amazing every single day. And of course, all the colleagues down at the Leopard, they've been watching that beautiful moon. For us, it's still way over the back of the hill, so although it should be up on the horizon now, we haven't seen it yet. Chandra says he has enough padding in the nether regions that he doesn't need a pillow. Apparently, that's what he said. Thanks, Jenny. That is just gorgeous, eh? So out to our east, where the moon will, it should be up already. I mean, we just can't see it. It's obscured by the hills. But yeah, we're just going to bite the bullet. We're going to stick it out here until the absolute last minute that we can. And you never know what surprises you get, eh? Yesterday we got the leopard in the dying minutes of the game. Let's see what we can get today. I hope Mosadi and her babies are okay. We know for a fact Mosadi's okay. There's no question about that. And when we saw her earlier, there was no undue sign of stress or alarm or anything in that. I mean, they were alert, very alert to the presence of this badger south of us, but nothing untoward in terms of the behavior and that. So yeah, I'm not too concerned, but like I said, we'll see what tomorrow holds. But in the meantime, I think head back down to Tristan and enjoy your time with him.
Well, I mean, I don't know if you want to enjoy time with me only. I think Dylan's doing a wonderful job, and a lot of you are thoroughly enjoying time with Dylan too. But we were going to leave these two Ellies, but it's just so nice to sit with them and the audio and the way that they are feeding. And, you know, sometimes, as much as it would be nice to chase the next thing and to see Tingana, it's sometimes a good thing to come back for and to appreciate what you've got. So it's something that happens a lot on safaris, and something that I would encourage anybody that does a safari to just remember to appreciate what you do see and not to always worry about what you haven't seen. I know it's difficult when you've traveled a long way and you know your chances of coming back are slim, but I promise you, if you have applied that, then generally you're going to be rewarded with some good stuff. As I've said throughout the time that I've been back, is that patience will get you a long way, and the amount of time sitting like this with an elephant feeding and just enjoying being close to it has led to something else is astounding. Often you sit with animals and all of a sudden you'll hear an alarm call, or something will just cross the path in front of you, or something like that. And so the stopping of yourself to go rushing around is actually sometimes the best thing that you can do in nature. Start to get into its rhythm, and generally then you start to kind of reap the rewards. And like I say, I was saying it just now, I'm going to miss the elephant, so why not actually just enjoy it? It's the most perfect sunset tonight. We had this beautiful light, and there's still a little hint of color on the western horizon. Got two elephants right next to us, and the sound is just absolutely amazing. So why not just sit and take it all in? Because I'm certainly will be missing it when I get back home anyway. So that's why we're still here. And like I say, our Ellies are not disappointing. I'll keep quiet for a little bit just so you can hear her feeding. Are you coming to say hello behind us? David, do you see you've made a friend behind you there, buddy? It was the slow sneak. Decided to come from the front, and that wasn't exactly where he wanted to be, so came from behind instead. Courtney, these Ellies are lovely. It's, you know, like I say, it's such an incredible animal. It's one of those creatures that I can spend a lot of time watching. I find them absolutely fascinating. I know a number of people that are not really enamored with elephants. They like them, but they're not really interested in watching them for long periods because they, just feed and drink, and that's really it. But for me, elephants teach us so much, even about ourselves. If you watch what they get up to, you watch their interactions that they have within the herds, to each other, to siblings, to rivals, to other herds, to bulls. It is absolutely fascinating to watch, and I promise you, if you go to places where you get serious amounts of elephants, it can be some of the most mesmerizing game viewing that you can have. When you go to places like Wangi in Zimbabwe, which I can't wait to get to. I was hoping to be there in a few months' time, but that's probably not going to happen. So next year, we'll hopefully be in Manapools and Wangi, which will be good. But you go to a place like that in the dry season, and you see the number of elephants coming down, or the Chobe River in Botswana. It is just the most astounding thing to watch these herds and the interactions and the noises that they make when you hear these rumblings and the trumpeting and the these groans, and then you see greetings, and you see the pushing and shoving, and then there's water splashing, there's dust, there's just so much atmosphere. And then obviously you have all the things that go on around elephants. So you'll have other antelope coming in, you have lions that are around, you have all kinds of things that happen. So I find elephants just the most fascinating creatures to watch. Right, well, we're probably going to move on now that they've gone behind us and into a bit of a bushy area. While we do that, though, I'm going to send you across to Taylor McCurdy with a mysterious moon.
We have got a very eerie scene right now. You can see the moon glowing brightly in the distance, and the clouds just very slowly floating on past. I'm just going to sit quietly for just a moment just to see if any animals are going to give us a call. This looks like it should be the opening scene to a horror movie, hey? Cue wolf call. Or howl, sorry, I suppose that's what wolves do, hey? And that's incredible. So we've been trying to show you the moon but unfortunately the clouds were not partaking in the same idea that we had. Tom, yes, wow, I think is a great word to describe what we're looking at right now. So the clouds were quite dense lower down on the horizon, but thankfully they started to break up a bit, and it is quite incredible to see with some movement like this. I think this could be the most gorgeous. Why did I add a T or a D to the end there? I have absolutely no idea. I'm just that excited of the spectacle that we're looking at. Goodness gracious, I think it's time that I go to bed. Soon. But this is amazing. All we need now is an owl perched up on the dead tree that you can see that's framing the moon. And that would be amazing. And one of the reasons why I wanted to keep quiet is there were a pair of African scops owls doing a duet a little bit earlier. And that would have been fantastic to see. I don't know what you can hear in the distance. Maybe just some crickets? I did hear a train go past earlier, so I don't really want to hear that. I want to hear a lion roaring or a leopard sawing, or like I said, the scops owls calling. So one of those would be more preferable. But this is really, really awesome to see. We actually had some giraffe earlier as well. We sat with them for a little bit, hoping that the moon would rise above them. Didn't work out, but we'll get it eventually. No animals calling in the night, unfortunately. Okay, let's carry on. Let's see what else we can find. I'm going to drive. I actually want to drive back up. I want to turn around is what I really want to do. You might not be able to see me, but now you can. Ta-da! There we go. Presenter light, my favorite. Okay, now we're going to be looking for things like bush babies. I must commend Dylan on his patience with that honey badger. Is he going to stick it out for the whole night or the next few days to see if it will come out? Will we find him there tomorrow morning, frozen? Perhaps Chandra will have to chisel him out, because I can imagine that in the Kalahari it must get quite cold at this time of the year. Wonderful. Anyways, it seems as though the trend is now to find the nocturnal critters. The race is on. Hopefully Steve will get you something, or hopefully I'll find something before him.
Well, thanks, Taylor. I do have my spotlight out and I am looking for those nocturnal creatures. We've just done a little bit of a river cruise looking for any of our resident owls that might be around, but none of them turned up. We just had a scrub air moments before, but he dashed off into the bushes. And now we're going to try for anything nocturnal along this road as we slowly make our way home. Been such a wonderful afternoon, so special. We were able to show you those three leopards together. We weren't able to really show you too much of the behavior of how Hukumuri was behaving with Mulwati. That's unfortunate, but it is what it is for now. It's nice seeing the size difference, the comparison between the two, the male and the female. But something we've been talking about for months is how we need to get Mulwati in a mating situation or find him on a kill and habituate him. The process of relaxation to the vehicle started this morning. So he's okay after dark with one vehicle. Two vehicles he runs away. In the daytime, he ran away. We've tried very hard. And so now we've spent a bit of time with him today and Tristan this morning. And the guys from Simbabili that was there as well. So they were going to stay longer because they could follow him over to Elephant Plains, or them, and keep him even more chilled. Piranha, the leopards did leave us in anticipation. Hopefully they come back again, but after Tristan's discussion this morning with me, he told me that definitely she was moving away from Mulwati and was obviously looking for her preferred boyfriend, Hukumuri. But that's why it made us such a difficult day of tracking the day before, because they kept moving. Tristan found them this morning and we found them pretty much in the same area this afternoon, which is what you'd expect from a normal sort of mating relationship. Although Hukumuri is still there and you're looking very tired, constantly salivating, constantly scent marking, huge amounts of energy expended. Tom, Chiduli won't necessarily force Cara away. When she has a cub, when she does fall pregnant and she does den again, she'll behave the same way that Thandi has with Kalamba. She just becomes a bit more distant and shows signs of aggression, although not. I mean, leopards' signs of aggression are very subtle, but mean a lot. They don't have to physically beat each other up for them to know that they're displeased. And Cara will no doubt be as inquisitive as Kalamba's been and want to go and catch up with her new sibling and just form some relationship. And Mum will always be, no, you will not. But we do witness some incredible things with the leopards in these areas, so you can never be sure what will happen. We've seen interaction with Kalamba and Tingana, things I never thought you would see. A female leopard bopping her dad on the nose on a kill, walking up to him and sniffing his bottom, and him not even bothering. It's just things you don't read about, things you have to physically see to know. And we have the huge privilege of being able to record this and document it and share it with many of you around the world. The things I've seen with regards to leopard behavior in the last 2.5 years have blown every perspective and perception of leopards out the water for me. So it's very hard for you to say exactly what will happen, but Michelle, you want me to give some of my honey badger luck to Dylan? Well, I'd love to, but I need to keep that for myself because the honey badger sightings in my life are few and far between. And when you get one, you've got to take it in. But I do wish him luck. Hope his doesn't get too cold sitting and waiting. But well, if anyone knows the answers to all the questions about leopard dynamics, it's indeed Mr. Tristan Dixon. So I'll send you back over to him for the end of the show.
Well, we're trying to get you a last-minute leopard. Kalamba is here somewhere. She was just seen now at the staff village, moving out towards this area. So I'm trying to see if I can find her and scratch her out for the last few minutes of the drive. She was apparently being followed by a big hyena, is what I last heard. Is that a light from the camp or a eye shine? Eye shine. Let's go check quickly. I don't know if it's her. It's going to be a long shot at this, but there's some sort of eyes here. Apparently she was stalking a scrub hare very close to the staff village, and then a hyena followed her and she unfortunately lost it. Ooh, sorry, David. You're right. You okay, bud? Sorry, I didn't see that. Is unfortunately long grass, which means holes in the long grass. They're inside the camp, whatever it is. No, it's little bushbuck inside there. David, did you survive there, bud? Only just. Sorry. Luckily I didn't fall out the vehicle again. That would have been a disaster. Okay, well, let's try and see if we can find her. She was here somewhere. So there's bushbuck that were on the other side of the little fence. "60 seconds. Here we go. Yes, she is. Yes, yes. That's so cool. Leopard to finish in the last minute. It's all thanks to Michelle from Djuma, who came. He saw my lights and he was trying to call me and I wasn't answering because we were live with the elephants. I'm just going to turn my lights off. Sorry, David. And now our infrared doesn't want to play ball. But he saw my lights on the other side of the dam and decided to come towards towards this area, well, to me, to come tell me that he had just seen her and that I should come and have a look. And can you believe in the last minute we've managed to see this cat? Ridiculous. Kalamba, you have made my day. The fact that we've seen 4 leopards. Now, I don't know if we should just be thankful and sit for a little bit just to enjoy this. Amazing. I can't believe that we actually got to see her to finish off. It's amazing. So the bush, there we go. It's exactly what I was saying earlier. We sat with the elephants, and you never know what that leads you to. Had we left the elephants, we might have gone down a different road. Michelle might not have seen our lights, might not have been able to come and get us, and we might not have found her. So it just goes to show you that, you know, it's all about small margins, and sometimes just enjoying the peace of some elephants can lead you to the right things. Kalamba, how awesome is this? David? Beautiful. What a way to finish a stint. Lisa, you say, well done, Kalamba. You told her to come say goodbye. Well, thank you for telling her. She's certainly performed. You've been a difficult cat to find over the last few weeks. So I'm thoroughly impressed that she's here saying goodbye. It's the last leopard I would have thought would have come out. But I'm very, very, very excited that she did. She's such a beautiful little leopardess, this. And I mean, look at her just lying in the road. You know, you get into a situation where you look and you look and you look and you look and you look for leopards, and then you just find them lying in the road like this. It's ridiculous. Anyway, on that note, we're going to say goodbye. It's been an absolute pleasure. Hopefully we'll be back soon. Not sure when, but hopefully in the near future. But thank you to everybody. It's been amazing. And the rest of the team will carry on with you guys from tomorrow morning at Sunrise Safari. Trish will be back. I'm sure you'll all enjoy it. But from all of us, we'll see you all again soon.